Jiminy Christmas. That intro was loud as shit. Where are you, Daisuke? Why are you hiding again? Why is it? It's
Uh,
doing the thing. Oh, that's right. I can't do the full screen thing. Why are you small?
I was like, I don't know.
It's always fucking something with this stupid show. All right, give me a second.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time.
There we go. Why? All right.
Hey, hey-ish.
That woke me up. Oh man, I'm so sorry that you had to tune in awake to this show. Oh my god.
Listen, she had a busy day today. She had
She did.
events happen,
We had a lot of fun
things.
today. Um
Yeah.
what's up, everyone? Welcome back to
Oh,
the SuperScope podcast. Your wrap up in this week's biggest gaming stories, leaks, and rumors, and we're back with episode 37 on Sunday, July 17th. I am your host, Retro Game Dude, and of course, joining me as always is my co-host, Dice Scorer. Did I say something stupid and not realize it?
No, I just looked over at your background and saw the 1 cent Anthem price tag, the pennied out Anthem.
There it is.
Oh
Um,
my God, that's a surprise.
I lost my spot, but that's all right. Feel free to join in the discussion live on Twitch and Discord, or if you're watching this on YouTube, tap that like button, like it owes you money, and then hit that subscribe button too. And let us know what we missed or what you want us to cover in the comments. You can always find the audio version on Stitcher, Spotify, and the Google Podcasts. That was probably the biggest train wreck of an intro yet, and I love it. I'm here for it.
Oh my God, amazing.
Dice Guy Aurora, how the hell are you doing this week?
Oh my God. How am I doing indeed? I am continually baffled.
By the gaming industry as a whole, or just
It's
America?
we I feel like every week I say the same thing. I say, how come every week I have to talk about these companies who have tremendous power and resources and potential? And they're just like, yeah, you know what? Would be really cool if we did. What if we just like, I know we're doing 80 on the highway towards Successville. But what if we just cut the wheel? You think we'll jackknife like really fast? Like, and then they do it. It
I'm
never
here for it.
fails.
I am here for it. My boy is fired
I
up this
don't
week,
get
ladies
it.
and gentlemen, if you haven't figured out. We're going to talk about that later. But first, let's talk about the state of the stream. Last week, I didn't stream Tuesday or Wednesday. Just didn't feel like it. It was nice. And I didn't really have like anything I really wanted to stream. The Ninja Turtles thing didn't really pan out because there just didn't look like there was much interest. So
Yeah.
I just played the Final Fantasy 14, and I had fun doing that. I might stream that this Tuesday and Wednesday instead of the normal stuff. I'm not sure. Um, I still have an intention of doing some stuff on YouTube, more casual stream style than what we do normally. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll get there eventually when I
Mhm.
have time. Speaking of things I don't have time for, I picked up a 3D printer, and that is still sitting in the box in the living room.
Nice.
So yeah, we're gonna get that out tomorrow and probably try and set that up. I have to find a spot for it. The thing is massive, so I didn't think it was going to be that big, but the box I think weighs like a good 60 pounds, so it's a big box too. So I'm excited. But at some point we'll incorporate um, some of the projects I do on the 3D printer on the channel. So stay tuned for that. We'll make some announcements about that as it comes along. Um, what else do we got? Jackbox, of course, on Saturdays. Had another good turnout last night. Lots of new faces, lots of returning faces. Always good to see. And of course, Sundays is the SuperScope podcast. Um, games we're playing this week. I didn't play much else other than Final Fantasy 14 this week. Um, I was just been kind of hammering away at that. I don't think I played anything else, to be honest.
Yeah,
How about you?
that's fair. Oh, in the past week, let's see. I played some Final Fantasy with you and Claire and etc.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I played a bunch of Diablo Immortal because I haven't gotten to the point yet where it's like feels awful to try and play.
Mm.
I am at the point where I am doing like the sign in, check my daily stuff, do my daily stuff, and get off again. I am not. I cannot just play it as much as I want. I pretty much can only play as long as I have those few things to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then it turns into like, well, you can do them again if you want, but there's worth less now, and it'll not help as
Mm.
much. So it's not even worth doing repeated tasks now. Like I'm at that point. I've beaten the story, so I'm at the point now where it's like, I sign in sometimes, do my like daily stuff, and that's it. So I imagine that'll probably be how this game goes for the foreseeable future, which isn't great because without putting any money into this game, it's going to take me weeks to like make real progress. Like I'm getting slight boosts to my gear numbers here and there.
Mm-hmm.
It turned into Destiny 2. Yeah, I can log on if I really want to hit some milestones to try and get a couple of pieces slightly better than they used to be, but that's it. Like the odds of
Sure.
me making significant progress at this point without paying are slim.
That's fair.
So it's a slow grind. Now, to be fair, it has the same thing going for it that like Pokemon Unite had, where there's like a bunch of different tracks to work on at once.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel like you're getting a bunch of rewards for doing what you're doing, but you're not really going very far like that. So it fills that desire to like check boxes, and that's about it.
Gotcha.
So it hasn't been super exciting, but
Yeah.
the combat still feels really good. I'll give them that. And Mega Man 2. Holy shit! What a mostly great and also partly awful game. Holy shit! Like it definitely for at the time, if you told me that game was a masterpiece, I would be like, given what we have access to right now in the 90s and whatnot, yeah, it's a very, very well done game.
Sure.
But like, holy shit, some parts of that game do not hold up to like modern standards.
But it does undeniably
boy.
invoke a lot of nostalgia. Undeniably a very popular game too.
Oh, definitely.
Probably the most popular of the original Mega Man series, and
I think
even when
yeah,
they
two
brought
two is
back,
like the big one. Yeah.
yeah, even when they brought back the last two new ones that were modeled after the original 8-bit games, they were modeled after like Mega Man 2 more than anything else. They went back to like the basics. They got rid of the slide, got rid of the power, the power shot, the charge shot, or whatever.
Yep.
So I mean, it's, when people think Mega Man, then that's the one most people bring up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I knocked that out for the charity stream for St. Jude's, and I had a good time with that.
Nice.
It's there's a couple of pain points in that game that are pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
That boss we talked about, where you walk in the room and it's like you have just enough shots to clear that room, and if you fuck up, you start over.
Yes.
That's pretty bad. It's mostly the Wily castles that I have problems with, I guess, because the main six stages, other than a little bit of issue with like Quickman stage and the falling, like being a little unforgiving at times, like until you learn it. And Heatman stage has a similar problem where like they do that block puzzle and they teach you like how to like sometimes the blocks will appear over your head and you'll have to jump over. But then
Yeah.
they expect you to do that over a pit, over lava, and then over a pit. But you haven't seen the exact pattern. It's not like what they showed you was a 1-for-1. You just have to guess. So that ate a few lives.
Sure.
But overall, it's fun. I mean, I almost think some of the boss fights are too easy. I did not realize how easy it was to walk into certain rooms with the right weapon and just like two-shot a guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you're like, all right, yeah, he's dead.
Oh, facts, man.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes it does. Like using the leaf shield on the air guy kind of sucks because it's really hard to get him with it.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you get him with it, he like melts in 2 hits, and you're like, all right. So overall, a fantastic game. Definitely lives up to its legacy and definitely deserves its praise. But be forewarned: play it on an emulator or play it on something that has save states or something, because you will get frustrated trying to beat that
There
game.
are definitely some pain points in that
without
game.
it. yeah, without that.
To say the least.
And then I did not play Mega Man X because I did the same thing you did. Friday rolled around and I was like, I just don't feel it.
Yeah.
And
I
then today we had a ceremony to attend, so I didn't actually do any Hollow Knight.
Indeed.
But it was a great time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I got a stack of games, of course, that are hitting my backlog hard. I gotta get through them. I have like Switch games on my desk. I don't have I don't have them even like filed away. They just pile up, and then I order more. But yeah, I'm looking at like streaming in the future. I'm looking like I think Stray. I want to stream. I really want to stream Persona. So I might do that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. If there's anything you guys want to see me stream, please let me know.
The rest of Tunic.
Oh no. Maybe.
Hey, remember,
I can't play it anymore because I got rid of Game Pass.
Oh.
I did pick up Persona Strikers for cheap on Amazon. That was like It was awfully cheap. Oh, the Ni no Kuni on the Switch is $19.99 on Amazon right now. That's a link I meant to post in my Discord. But
Oh, that's
yeah, I
cool.
snagged that real quick. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good one.
that is a good one.
What was I gonna say? There's, I have a demo you might like.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned it to you or if I mentioned it to Dark. There's a demo of a game called. Let me go look real quick on my Steam library because I have it saved. Um, let's see. It's called. And now I am forgetting the name. And for some reason, my Steam library is showing my games in a really weird order. Oh, it's sorting by playtime. What a weird decision. Okay, sure. I get it. It shows me what I play the most because I'm probably gonna play those. Um,
I have one. Maybe this is the one you're talking about. Let me bring up mine.
yeah.
Choice Chamber.
No, not what I'm thinking of, but
Okay.
that sounds interesting.
You play the game, and then each room kind of has like a multiple choice, and the audience can vote for like what happens in the room. You could either get like weapons or status effects, where like the floors are slippery. It's almost like that thing you're doing with charity, but it's built into the
Hmm.
game.
Oh, that's super cool.
Mm-hmm. So, while you're looking, did you get anything cool for Prime Day?
No, I did not actually. I
Unbelievable.
kind of did nothing for Prime Day.
I usually don't, but then I just kind of had like a list of stuff that I wanted, and it all happened to be on sale. The 3D printer was like $300 off, so I was like, yeah, I've been eyeing that thing up for probably like a year and a half, 2 years, and
Yeah, absolutely.
that was just I was like, all right, time to pull the trigger, time to grow up and get a 3D printer.
Yeah, definitely. That's. I mean, it's one of those like you'll never regret that decision. You'll be able to use it forever, or at least for a long
Exactly.
time, to do a lot of cool things.
Hmm.
Here, I'll throw you the Discord. In the Discord, I'll throw you a link to what I'm talking about. There you go.
Let's
Pull
take a
that
look.
bad boy
A
up.
master key. Oh, that's interesting. I
So
think
yeah,
I
previously
have
we were talking about it, an
seen.
indie game stuff.
I think I saw previews of this on Twitter. This looks really interesting.
Yeah, me and you scrolled through a bunch of indie games on Twitter, and this was one of them.
Interesting.
It's very Zelda. Yeah, very
Now,
not just very Zelda, but very like Link's Awakening Zelda.
yeah, but like monochrome. That's interesting. I'll definitely check that out.
Mhm.
All
There's
right,
a the reason I mention it is because there's a demo now, so it's
gotcha.
a free playable thing that would be an interesting, maybe like an interesting sit down. It says it's between 5 and 10 hours of content, but I can't tell if they mean the demo or the whole game.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
Cool. I'll definitely check that out. All right. Social media accounts. If anyone wants to check it out, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at GameDudeRetro. Much more active on Twitter and Retro Game Dude on Twitch and TikTok. Obviously, I am very active on Twitch and TikTok. I not really so much. I'm just trying to kind of figure out my kind of navigate that app. But I think with that 3D printer, I'll definitely be streaming some of that stuff. People seem to really love watching just the 3D printer do 3D printing. Um, so I'd love to sit there and watch people like try to guess what it is, and then realize it's just a giant throbbing dick that I'm printing, and then they have to sit there and watch it.
I was gonna say you could probably hyperlapse it and make cool little like TikTok short videos of like the hyperlapse of it.
Right. I was thinking of doing that too. So like have like the live stream version of it, and then doing like quick like 30-second motifs, and then you know kind of have like the live content versus like the scrollable content. So
Hmm.
that'd be cool.
Oh, before we get into it, I showed
Mhm.
you the other game, right? Kloa,
Yes.
Child of the Forest.
That
That looks really
that
cool.
does look good. That kind of has the star was that Sea of Stars
Yeah,
kind of
yep.
almost.
It's they're trying to do like a top-down Zelda style game, but with like Ghibli inspired art.
Yes.
Looks really
Yeah,
cool.
that looks really good. Okay. Well, let's talk about sponsor, handheldlegend.com. If you like modding your consoles, you like throwing backlit screens in your games, you like soldering, you're a hobbyist, or if you just like displaying your stuff, or swapping out a new shell on an old system that you have. Look at this dude, wacky wailing fun. I love it.
Oh, chair kept spinning.
That's amazing. But yeah, check them out. Use code RetroGameDude at checkout and get $10 off your first order, or handheldlegend.com/RetroGameDude, and that will get you the same effect. Um, so at some point, they're supposed to supply me with some B-roll so I can actually show like some product and stuff on here, but still waiting on it. But yeah, check them out. Right, Handheld Legend. They're pretty dope. If I could clear my throat tonight, that'd be fantastic. All right, some quick headlines here. Sony has completed its $3.7 billion acquisition of Bungie, and they welcome them into the PlayStation family. So it'll be interesting to see what becomes of that. I know Sony has a big push to want to get into like live service games, and who better to do it than Bungie? So, especially with the success of Destiny, for better for worse. These are the probably the right people to do it. So they're bringing in the pros to have this. It's just strange because I know Sony. Remember, during the PlayStation 4 towards the end, they were like their big push was like single player games, and now they're really pushing into like multiplayer aspect. So hopefully they strike a balance, and it's not just like they just want to stick with all of just live service games because I think generally gaming is kind of hitting a fatigue point with live service games now, and I see a lot of pushback. So, I mean, hopefully they're making the right moves, and hopefully they still continue to develop their single player games that people really enjoy. So,
Yeah.
next up, a unanimous groan on Twitter for this one. EA's latest Skate entry, just called Skate, will be just a free to play service. So again, another live service game, and people were not happy about that because we know EA's old tricks is they're just going to monetize the Christ out of this, and we'll talk about their old CEO here a little bit towards the end of the show.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just kind of like thinking like the way that people are charging for content in games now, it's like how at what point do they start charging real prices for like skate decks, like $30-40 for like a skate deck just because it has someone's artwork on it and something like that. I see it happening. Unapologetically even. So
You mean the skateboards are going to have non-fungible trucks?
yes, that's what they're gonna have. My God. Here's one that kind of raised eyebrows too. Fable 4 has a new lead narrative director years after the game was announced. So I'm kind of confused as to why they would need a narrative lead at this point in the game's development. Which has me questioning once again Microsoft's ability to manage their studios and what they're going to do when they take over Activision come August, October.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
So
it should be this year.
I just
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's well because like I feel bad because like I know the person who got the job and I'm very happy for them personally. Sure. But it's weird to be shifting that staff around at this point in the game. Like, I don't know. It's just like in my opinion, like any person who's going to lead a narrative design project like that is going to have their opinions about how things should be done. And I think no matter how closely that person followed the previous person in that position, they're going to still make changes that are going to affect at least 10-15% of that game, no matter how much they want it to be as closely aligned with the previous vision.
Exactly.
It's going to be a shakeup no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It seems like it would be one thing if everything was going according to plan and then that happened. I get it. People leave jobs, people get promotions, that's fine. But like for a game that we haven't seen or heard of or even acknowledged its existence in like 2 years. Like when was the last time we heard about Fable, right? It got announced like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us the trailer with the frog eating the fairy and it was like, "Ah, look, it's Fable humor." And then we have not seen a thing about that game since then. And in the time since then, I've repeatedly seen them hiring still. But we've yet to see anything come out, so I don't know. It's
we've seen them.
I'm skeptical.
Lose employees too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole timeline I could go over. I just don't have it in front of me at this point. But
Sure, it's not a good sign on
Once
the
again,
whole. Like if
red
it was
flags are for Microsoft.
well, and that doesn't help either. Microsoft has a habit of being like, hey, we were doing a thing and then we weren't doing a thing. Remember Scalebound? Remember Platinum Dust? Remember like all these games that they like acquired studios like the studios for. I mean, to be fair, the only reason they
Lionhead.
probably didn't burn Bungie into the ground was because I was just say Lionhead. Bungie got away from them. Bungie literally separated because they didn't want to go the way they were going.
Sure.
And we see now how what happens with 343. 343 is, if I'm not mistaken, currently working on recreating a tech demo from 2003 or
Right.
something. Like,
Well, yeah, and we saw
cool.
Halo Infinite has like all these online multiplayer bugs, like melee syncing and stuff, where it's like people are beating the shit out of people and they're not taking any damage, and then the guy will spin around and shoot them, and they're dead. And it's like
Yeah.
major, glaringly horrible bugs. And they're basically were like, well, we're not going to release a patch anytime soon for it because the people that we had on that are working on another project right now. And it's like, and then like a week later they announced this Halo 2 recreation demo. It's like, is this what you were working on that was so important, something that no one asked for? Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, that's a whole thing that to me just screams like we don't want to be looked at as the guys who couldn't do what Halo did way back when. So like we're literally going back to remake the Halo demo so we can show we know what we're doing. Like that's okay. I mean, if you guys want to do this, that's your call. But like, if people are gonna laugh at you for it, you can't get mad.
Right. Yeah. So, we'll keep an eye on Fable, but again, I mean, it's just throwing all the red flags that we've seen 100 times over with Microsoft in just 2-3 years. So,
Yep.
yeah, let's move on. Sony is announcing they're doing a PlayStation Stars program. Now, this will be for players who are, I guess, like a little bit more trophy oriented. They're going to have like contests, like people who in the like specific time zones can do. If they get like this X amount X trophy first, or like platinum it first, they'll get you like all kinds of digital rewards. And it's not just for people who get like to the achievement first. It's they'll be like I guess a little bit like think of it almost like that Astro's Playroom. I'm thinking they'll give you like stuff like little memorabilia things, like maybe like miniature PlayStation 2s and stuff that you can kind of like sit on a shelf, I guess. So people will be rewarded for like getting platinum trophies, maybe even like less than platinum trophies, but it'll be interesting to see. You can, I guess, also earn points to get games and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see that. But they've tried like this stuff before without success. I know like they had a program for like a while where you could like earn trophies, and the trophies would accrue points, and you could use those points to like buy stuff, on the PlayStation Store. And I think what happened was they ended up closing that portion of the PlayStation, the Sony store, and then you really couldn't do anything with it. So that kind of just vaporized. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll execute this right, and hopefully it'll be cool enough for people to really want to get into it. But we'll see. And
yeah, it's always a little skeptical when like a program that existed and then got deleted comes back, because it's like, okay, what are we doing to make this work this time if it didn't work last time, right? Like, it's not like you have to do something different this time. I mean, we've seen it's sort of tangential, but I've seen like the Magic the Gathering, the paper like Magic the Gathering, like they've had programs where like back when I started playing in high school, 2004, 5, 6, 7, like they had programs where like if you would compete in tournaments and it'd get recorded and sent up, and then they would mail out promos to people who played so many matches or won so many things or whatever. And we'd get physical full art cards and things like that. And then that program got rescinded and became like the Planeswalker Points program.
they
And
would
then the
send
rewards
like
kind of went
tokens and stuff, like
away.
card tokens in the mail and shit.
Oh, dude, no, they used to give us actual cards like Wrath of Gods and Lightning Bolts too. Like really good stuff. Premium cards.
My roommate would get like he would get like a random envelope from it. It would just be like 6 squirrel tokens, like Magic the Gathering official squirrel tokens. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a great system, and then that got rolled back, and then rolled back, and then rolled back, and like every time they try to put in a new program where they're like, "Hey, we heard you guys like the rewards program. You guys want a rewards thing, to encourage you to get out and play, and we're setting up this new program, and every new program has had less stuff, or it's been worse, or it's been handled worse, or like the current program I think is like basically nothing. Like you get player points still, and you can. I think it turned into like you can get buys at tournaments, and that's all it does for you. And it's like, okay, but I don't go to like what if I can't travel? Like, it was one thing before I had kids, but like, I'm not gonna drag my whole family to like, down to Alabama, then up to New England, then over to California, then down to like Arizona to like do tournaments. Like I could do as like when I was younger. Like it's funny how the program was a lot better for everyone back then, and now it's worse for most people. It's just it feels like it's the same thing, right? Like it's
Right.
these companies bring back these programs because they were wanted or they didn't want them to go, but then they never bring them back in the capacity that we want them. And then 3 months from now they'll close the program down again and be like, hey, it didn't really work out like we thought it would, and it's like, well, gee, what is that? Corax
I'm trying
Asao.
to
I'm
correct
gonna try
Caraxo. I'm sorry.
Corax Asao.
I suck.
Welcome to the stream.
So Bayonetta 3, finally announced within a release date. We are getting it October 28th. Interesting mode too. It's being incorporated into it. We're getting a 2 mode, a censored mode. So if you're playing it in the living room in front of your parents, you can you can enjoy the game still.
Yeah.
It's called Naive Angel mode.
Yep. Naive
I love it.
Angel.
But yeah, Bayonetta 3 announced at the inception of the Switch will be finally coming out almost 6 years after announcement. I hope it's good. This is another platinum project, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're hopefully
Yeah.
hopefully it's good. Platinum's had a problem with it pissing on their own balls lately, but hopefully they've been working on this game for 6 fucking years. So let's hope that it's.
I'm hoping this one has too much of the old work already put into it for like them to like botch it like they did with the other game. What was that other game they made?
Can't even remember.
They said they were making a live service game and then they made it and then it just collapsed. Like yeah.
I can't remember.
It was like, oh man.
Was it God something? Godfall? God something?
No, it wasn't. Godfall was another game that was supposed to be like the next Destiny killer, etc.
Number 3.
Yeah. Platinum Games live service game was called.
It just came out like a couple months ago. It's like completely deleted from my memory. It's wild. So it can't be that good.
Game's new game.
It fell flat in its face.
Platinum Babylon's Fall.
That's it. Something's fall.
Oh boy, did it fall.
Oh boy. It done did.
And it's sad because they make some really, really good games when they actually just do the games. Like when they do like Metal Gear Rising, Nier, Astral Chain. They've got a good, solid track record for making good combat games, fun action games.
All it takes is one new CEO to fuck up the whole company. So there we are.
Or going public, like I don't know, CDProjekt Red did.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's financial backings from the market, and all of a sudden they're making shitty decisions that are good for finance and bad for customers. I'll wait till we get there.
All right. Well, next up, Square Enix. I thought this was interesting. I don't know if you read too much into this. Square Enix is launching a game development community, live interactive works game development crew. So this will be pretty cool because this is basically developers working in tandem with the community members, getting live feedback and stuff. Now, the only thing I have worried about is that this live feedback kind of reminds me of Dr. Disrespect's nonsense game. And Square's recent comments about wanting to deal with NFTs and stuff. So I'm just hoping that this isn't the same model where it's going to be this NFT driven nonsense, but it doesn't have any mentions of it. So we're hoping that that's not going to be a thing. Did you pick up anything off of this that seemed like really stuck out?
Honestly, you mentioning it in the show notes was the first I heard of it.
I'm surprised. I'm legitimately surprised.
Well, as a Final Fantasy fan and a Kingdom Hearts fan for a long time, we've learned to just ignore everything Square Enix does outside of putting out their games, and even then, that's like a 50-50.
Yeah, that's fair.
But, I guess we'll see. I did think, I'm going to look real quick, but I thought I heard that recently that these companies that mentioned NFTs like a few months ago are all starting to like quietly backpedal on them. Because I know Sega said they wanted to step back from it.
Yeah. Ubisoft got real quiet about it. But I'm not seeing any mention of it, of course, but I'm just kind of like worried because it just seems it draws a lot of parallels to how these NFT game production development models and stuff. So I'm really not seeing anything of it, but yeah, I'm pretty cool. It'll be pretty cool to see, like, what the outcome of this is, and as far as what to see what they actually get produced.
I'm seeing that as of June, Square Enix said they were going to be backing off of NFTs and blockchain, and they're going to look for separate fundraising efforts to fund what they were trying to make off of NFTs and all that.
Right.
But I think they were extremely quiet about saying that because they'd have to admit they were wrong about it. Probably not a fan of doing that.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, they released a thing. They released a business strategy progress thing in May that they omitted all mention of NFTs and all that, and now it says like rather than use proceeds from divestiture in new investment domains such as NFT and blockchain, we intend to use them primarily to fund our efforts to foster solid IP and enhance our development capabilities in our core digital entertainment segment. That's what it was before, but now it's our intention is to undertake fundraising efforts for our new investment domains separate from those for our core business, and are considering various possibilities, including potentially establishing a CVC. So they're still going to look at NFTs and blockchains as a potential for their digital entertainment segment, which is like Sony's movies, animation, and whatnot. But they're going to move into separate funding to try and actually do things outside of their core business or whatever. I don't know. That still sounds like a mix, which I still don't like.
Right. It just seems like they're making it so that they can separate themselves from it a little bit easier if it does fail, and that's really all there is. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it'll be like an NFT division, and if it fails, they'll be like, we had to like lambast our NFT division or something like. Or yeah, they'll just jettison that part by itself or something. Yeah.
Yep. The Sega Genesis Mini 2 was announced. That's getting a release date here soon, and that will be an Amazon exclusive. But it will have the over 50 classic games on it. They are going to actually include some Sega CD titles in it. And it seems like what they're addressing here is a lot of the stuff of what it should have been, the first one should have been in the first place. Incorporating like Sega CD games, having that 6-button controller on it. And the only thing I really don't see here is like the inclusion of some 32X games, like all 6 of them. That would have been nice. Yeah. But they said that they're also adding in a previously unreleased game. I have a feeling that's probably going to be the Mega Man Wily Wars game, because that wasn't technically physically released in the US. That was a Sega TV exclusive. So we did get a physical re-release of that through Limited Run Games and the other companies escaping me right now. So we did get like a special edition physical release of it, but to have that on the Sega branded hardware, I think would be also pretty cool. So they say a Sonic CD is going to be on it, which again I think I've griped about that game enough this week, but it wasn't my favorite Sega favorite Sonic game.
Sure.
But they'll have like Shining Force CD, Ninja Warriors, a bunch of other Sonic CD games, so that'll be pretty cool to see all that. Sonic 3D Blast will be there, the Genesis version at least, and Fantasy Zone. So it looks like they're going back and putting a lot more impressive titles than what we got through their first iteration of this. So it'll be pretty cool to see.
That works. Are we? Did the first one have Dr. Robotnik's Lean Mean Bean Machine?
Yeah, I'm not really too sure. I'd have to go back and look. I think it did. I think it had like Sonic 1 and 2. It did not have like 3 or Knuckles. That was another big criticism of it, but because of that whole music debacle.
Yeah, that's probably why it was missing. Yeah,
that was absolutely part of it. So
I just know Dr. Robotnik's Lean Mean Bean Machine is a staple of the Sega
it's
roster.
Just Puyo Puyo with extra steps. That's
yeah, it's Puyo Puyo, but it allows me to, instead of saying Puyo Puyo, it allows me to say the phrase Dr. Robotnik's Lean Mean Bean Machine.
Not wrong. Fun. That's fair. Last quick story we have here too. GameStop launched their own NFT and raked in a whole $44,000 in its first day. So if that's just not the nail in the coffin of the popularity of NFTs, good fucking riddance. Couldn't happen to a better company to watch them fall flat in their face with this. $44,000 is nothing.
Nothing.
So hopefully that just fizzles out and we don't ever see it again.
40 grand, that's abysmal.
Yeah.
Company wide, that's abysmal. Yeah.
It shows you how much that foot traffic that company's getting anymore. So Wall Street Bets isn't going to
Yeah,
bail them
it's
out this time.
yeah, right. It's definitely interesting. I don't know. It's like I feel like I don't know. I like in my local environment where I was in Connecticut, GameStops were good, but that's because I was working at one and we ran it pretty like legitimately.
Hmm.
Um, Ooh Boy is as overall as the company. I don't know if it's like the company's directives aren't necessarily bad. It's just that a lot of people within GameStop like to run those directives really poorly. Like, the company doesn't like want to like I don't know what's a good way to put it, but like they don't like to like as a business model. It doesn't account for things like scraping by like their staff or like not letting them have breaks or like doing all this junk. But then when you actually get in there, you'll have like if the regional leader is like that, then the store managers will be like that, or the district leader will be like that. And if the district leader is like that, it'll trickle down to the store managers, and
Hmm.
you'll get some store managers who are like stand up dudes like the one at my old store, and they're doing what they can, but like you know, corporate will come through and it's like you have to be asking people, do you want to reserve the game? You have to be asking people if they want the card. You have to be asking people if they want their warranties. And if you're not getting so many warranties, you're not getting so many cards, you're not getting so many reserves, you will actually get punished for it. You'll lose hours, you'll get written up, shit like that. And it just sucks because the system can work fine without the people putting that pressure in, but they put that pressure in because they get rewarded for doing so.
Sure.
So it's just shitty. It's a shitty system that's not regulated enough, is what I guess would be the problem.
No, I totally agree.
Not enough protections for people. You know what I mean? Like not enough like ways to hold them accountable for the shit that they do.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, because that's the thing. That's why you get these wild stories where like you'll talk to people at GameStop and you'll get people who are like, oh yeah, this game, GameStop sucks. You go in there and they ask you 8 questions about if you want to reserve a game, if you need the warranty, if you do this, if you do that. Do you have any phones at home? Do you have any old laptops at home? Do you have any games you're not playing? Do you have any this, that? And it's like, yeah. And they make us do that, and they force people to do that. And when like I was working there, I would never do that shit. I would literally only be like, I know you're here for this game. Do you want to reserve this other game that I know you'll like? Not
Hmm.
like I won't just pitch whatever the title of the week is at people. I'll only
Sure.
ask for reserves on people that I think would actually enjoy the game.
Which would be smart.
Um,
That's
I
smart
would only
sales.
ask
Like that's
right. I'd only ask for the warranties on people who are buying like Wii disc games.
right.
Like the other day, what was I bought something down here for the Switch, Lego Worlds on the Switch,
Hmm.
and the lady at the counter was like, "Oh, do you want to warranty the game?" And she's like, she had a pre-game speech ready. She was like, "Now," and she closes the box and she looks at me and she's like, I want to recommend something to you that I recommend, especially for Switch games, just in case something happens. Like I have people all the time in here using this all the time. The warranty for the game's like $2, and if something goes wrong with it, we'll replace it for you. And like, oh man, people are always in here using this warranty on these Switch games. And I looked at her and I'm like, no, they don't.
FOMO.
She's like,
That's
well,
FOMO tactic, dude.
like the warranties are yeah, because if you don't get the warranty up front, you can't use it. You can't go back and get it. So like,
Hmm.
you just don't have the chance to get it. And I was like, lady, I was an assistant manager at GameStop for years back in Connecticut. Switch games, Nintendo DS games, 3DS games, never use the warranty. Because the only thing that you could use the warranty for in a game like that would be if the
Like a
copper gets scratched.
dog chewed
Because
it.
if you break, yeah, if you no, not even if you break the cartridge, they won't replace it. They don't
The
replace broken, they replace like scratched and damaged. So like now, some places it's at the manager's discretion. You can get cool
Sure.
managers who will just be like, "I'll take it and replace it for you because I'm helping the customer." But like again, the system doesn't make that the standard; it just
Right.
allows for that. Um, and they'd be like, "I was like, dude, when I was at the store in Connecticut, you never sell those to anyone because why would you buy that for cartridges? They don't scratch. Like you'd have to fuck with the copper thing, the plating, to make it not read but still be in one piece, and that's like impossible.
Right.
Like you have to dip it in some weird acid to like make this
To
warranty
force it to corrode
usable.
or something like that. Yeah.
And she just like kind of looked at me and was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Don't get me wrong, I get it. You have to ask this; it's your job. But like, you do not need to come in here with a spiel to try and convince people to buy Switch warranties that they don't actually need. And then like, you're lying to me if you tell me that people always come redeem these
Right.
warranties for this. You're just
At that point, they're just
lying,
trying to increase their margin on the sale. It's like that's all that stuff is.
right?" And I've had DMs look at me and be like, "Hey man, whatever's working, if it works for you, if you think you're doing customer service, you do it that way." And then I've had other DMs look at us and be like, add the warranties to their bill, tell them their total, and don't take them off unless they ask why they're there. Like once they pay and go, why did I get charged $6 for these 3 games? And you go, oh, it was the warranties. I said your total was $35.99 with warranties, like with the guarantees, and you said okay, and now it's too late. I'm not returning them. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
fucking stupid. So yeah, that's why you'll get these like you'll get people like in one comment thread, you'll see people be like, fuck GameStop, it's garbage. And then other people being like, I love my GameStop, they're really great in there. Because there's a lot of, it's the Wild West. A lot of people, like, it depends on how the store manager and his team runs that store. There's just way too many stores where like they get greedy or they get, I want to be on top of the numbers, or I don't want to get in trouble for not being on top of the numbers, and they can't afford to
Right.
not do it. So it's shitty.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I could fucking go on, but
No
yeah,
doubt.
we're still in the opening run. We'll move
That's all
on.
right. Yeah, we'll go on. Sorry. So let's get into
No, you're good.
our bigger stories of the night. That's cool. You're good. So first up, big story here. CD Projekt Red, not doing great financially at this point. I guess the big thing was that Cyberpunk 2077 didn't do so hot. Didn't come out, what I would say, in a complete status, and they kind of boasted that they still made billions of dollars back and all that stuff, regardless of the quality of the game. And I guess that's finally starting to bite them in the ass. Their share value has plummeted by 75% post Cyberpunk 2077. And
Yep.
there's a lot here. It's not just the performance of the game. There was a general overvaluation of the company to begin with, especially when they were growing very fast after the
Oh
success of The
yeah,
Witcher.
absolutely they were. Yep.
So let me see here. This one, I saw this on Reddit. This is a great comment here too. This is by B_Kuro. The overvaluation of CDPR was massive. So that's more of the natural progression. Back in 2020, shortly before CP 2070, Cyberpunk 2077 released, they were valued higher than Ubisoft for no reason. Back then, the data I could find, I think this was 2019, showed the following: CDPR revenue, 100 million euros. Their total assets around 200 to 300 million euros. Ubisoft's revenue was 1.7 billion euros, and their assets at roughly about 2.8 billion euros. Let that sink in. For both their assets and revenue, there was a factor of 10 to 20 between those two, and the bubble still put CDPR ahead. As much like as
Oh
just
yeah.
like Ubisoft and their idiocy and their generic games, it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been that way. A 75% drop since CP 2077 is probably still generous and overvaluing. 100% agree.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
that coupling with just the absolute disaster that Cyberpunk 2077 was. Here we are. The bubbles popped, and this is kind of, I guess, the company's value, I guess we could say, is distilling back to where it should be, but 75 is
Right.
a lot.
there was there was a lot of issues with, like, it would be one thing if this was like a game that was highly anticipated and then it came out and was bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Because like we've seen that with like with Halo Infinite, a good example of that, because what I'm trying to distill and separate here is like there's a difference between like the game being hyped and then coming out and being bad,
Mm-hmm.
or the game being hyped to hell and they're helping hype that game to hell like crazy. Um, Thank you for that follow. I didn't catch the
I'm
name.
trying
Kazi?
to get there. Yeah.
Kazi, I think.
Yeah.
I think I can't. I'm behind on your alerts, so I don't want to like, because I only see it on the screen
Right.
on stream, which is behind what. So I'm like, okay. um, no, so like, there's a difference between the game just being bad, and it's like, well, it's a bad game or something. I get it. It happens.
Sure.
It's whatever. But like, leading into it, their whole thing was like, it'll be ready when it's ready. We're not going to release it until it's good to go. And then there was several delays. There was like staff problems. There was crunch problems happening at the studio. At first, they were like, we don't do crunch. You know what I mean? We're good about that. And then it was like, well, we do voluntary crunch, where like we don't make people crunch, but they can if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And then that turned into like, well, no, we do make people crunch now to finish the game. Like, okay.
Just a little crunch,
And there was like,
just
yeah,
as a treat.
And then you had like the token system they instilled where they were giving out bonuses in the form of these tokens, but the tokens were A, tied to their Metacritic reviews, and then B, were like in control of like the team leads. So the team leads could just sort of play favoritism by being like, well, like a lot of people were talking about like, oh, you'd put in a full day at work and then you'd put in crunch for like the sixth day, and on the seventh day, everyone's going out to the bar, and you're like, fuck, I don't even drink, but like I have to go to the bar and take a couple drinks with these guys because I don't want to be the dude who's the outlier, and then I don't get a bonus because I don't fit in with the rest of the team. So you got people feeling like they're pressured to do social situations and like deliver for their boss extra work or deliver on time, or yeah, of course the crunch is voluntary, but of course I take that because the dude's
Sure.
holding the bonuses. Like,
Right.
and
Right.
I could use that bonus like on top of everything. So like yeah, you get these people who are like feeling coerced into like crunch and coerced into like social settings, and all that happens, and then the game is about to come out, and then it gets delayed, and you're hearing from the developers on the inside after the fact that they thought it was like an April Fool's joke when they said it was April that year. They were like, "There's no fucking way. This game's 2 years from done." Like,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Nope, not April Fool's." And then of course it was like, "Yeah, actually it's November or whatever, December that
Hmm.
year." And then they were like, "That's still 1/3 of the time we need to make this game possibly playable. That doesn't even account for problems or errors along the way." Like, and then the game comes out, and sure enough, it's a complete mess. All these problems. And then we find out, like, right as the game's coming out, reviewers are only allowed to use the footage they give them. They can't use their own footage. Um, Reviews are not allowed to go up the day the game's launched. They had, like, what, a 48-hour window where they couldn't go up.
Hmm.
Um, there was all kinds of problems about this. Like, and it was all the kind of, it wasn't problems, like, again, it'd be one thing if it was, like, the game was bad and people reviewed the game and said, yeah, it's bad. But this was, like, the kind of stuff companies do where they turn off NTX ahead of time, where the games will be like, we're not showing you the full picture. We're not letting you tell people that it's bad. We're not letting you show people the footage that you have that's bad. There was
Hmm.
reviews that went up online like the couple days after. They were like, I couldn't even show you the problems I was having with the game because the only footage they let me use was their
Their
footage,
own
and their
footage.
footage runs fine. Like, so of course I
Imagine
can't
that.
show you all these bugs, but like, yes, there's a lot of bugs. Um,
At
and
what
then
point
and then
is
yeah,
that just
like
fraud? Like,
yeah, well, exactly.
holy shit.
Their E3 footage, their E3 trailer was completely fabricated. It wasn't actually running in game or anything, even though they
Hmm.
said it was. It was the Anthem thing all over again. Um, they had, was it their CEO right before launch said he was surprised at how well it runs on old gen.
It barely ran at all.
Like, yeah, like it's a complete disaster in old gen. What do you mean surprised at how well it runs? That means you expected it to be worse than that. Well, like what?
Right.
So
Like you
that was a
said off
thing,
stream,
and
like he
then
either knew about it and knew how bad it was, or he was completely ignorant, which
yep,
both are just complete
neither of
malfeasance for a
which
CEO.
yeah, neither of those is acceptable for a CEO for sure, leading the team. And then the game comes out, people are playing the game, and you find out the game soft locks, the game hard locks, the game causes problems with your system, the game causes all these issues. You get video after video from different people who talk about game design, where they're talking about like cops spawning. They just spawn in behind you anywhere you are. In the
Hmm.
30th floor of a building, they spawn in the office behind you, even though there's nowhere for them to come in. They just show up. Like out in the street shooting at people and they all scatter, you can do a 360 and they all disappear because enemies that are retreating, anyone retreating from you, non-enemies I should say, retreating from you disappear when they're off camera. So if you
Hmm.
just shoot and then spin, all the NPCs around you get deleted. Cars that can't drive, they don't know how to go around other cars in traffic. Um, NPCs can't ride motorcycles. They just can't because they never got to that part. You can ride a motorcycle, but they never got the NPCs to do it. And then you find out half the time you get on a motorcycle and like your outfit disappears. Your character T poses while they're standing on the bike because
Yep.
even that doesn't work correctly. Like, and then people said it was overhyped and underdelivered. The different story paths were just sort of the same thing. Once you got to a certain point of the game, they all the branching paths kind of came together in one place, and it was like, and then the game ended. The Mass Effect 3 thing all over again, where it's like,
Right.
yeah, there's options, but like those options are your fucking color preference. Like,
Complete. Exactly. Yeah, they're completely indifferent to the ending of the game.
it was not anywhere near what they made it sound like it was going to be from where it was initially proposition to people and proposed to what we ended up with as a final product. It wasn't even close.
Hmm.
Um, and and then there was the lawsuits they had to have. PlayStation pulled the game off the store. It was so bad. Um, they got sued by like shareholders or whatever because they weren't meeting up to it. And then even that they dipped out on that by only having to pay like 1.8 million. They got away almost scot free from that, which is kind of wild too.
Then they had that patch,
Just
that like meeting where
Yep.
employees are openly hostile toward each other, which was really cringe to
Absolutely.
watch. And then
Hmm.
they're talking about how your apartment cat can do this and that and this. And it's like, guys, the game doesn't work. You're talking about a fucking cat. Like,
Yeah,
where are
dude.
we at here?
They're like, hey, it's a future where like the times are different and people are different, man. And like, watch how many dildos you can find in this game. And literally, they are everywhere. You can get them, use them as weapons. You can find them in background as set pieces and
Just like
stuff.
real life.
And it was like, imagine that being the part of your game that you're like making sure works.
Right.
Like that was a resource we had to put time into. Sure. And then yeah, of course. I mean, I guess what it is that the CEOs wanted to be represented in games, so they had to make sure that there was dildos around. Um,
Right.
I don't apologize for that. Fuck them. They deserve everything they get for this dumb shit. They deserve their burning their goodwill. This is the same thing I talked about at the top of the show. You get these companies where they earn such goodwill. They go so hard on Witcher 3 and they work so hard even Witcher 2. Um, and they put out these games and they accrue this cult following of people which they earn. I shouldn't say cult up front, but like I realized after the fact that there are some people who made a cult out of being like CDPR fans because now in the current condition that they are in with the current state of Project CD Project Red and with their last game release and everything, there are people who are still like, yeah, no, they're a great company and they deserve to be better than this.
Right.
Like they should be worth more than this. And it's like da 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 da. And it's like
They're still stuck in the golden era of like right between like Witcher 2 and 3.
right, or
Before they brought
even
in a
like
bunch of like corporate leadership that wasn't there
yeah.
in the inception of the company.
Well, they did a merger and then they went public. And then when they went public, there was a lot more pressure for monetization, which
Sure.
go figure, this company was all about like treating their workers right and doing things the right way and delivering a good experience. And then they go public and then they have more financial incentives and more monetization and they have more
It's
pressure.
like
And
there's
then
always
all
a
of a
direct
sudden,
correlation between like bilking your customers and making sure your shareholders are happy. It's like, why does any company go
yeah,
public? I don't get
well,
it.
and look at what happened. All of a sudden, you hear stories about workers being treated like shit, workers having to worry about optional crunch, and then that became mandatory crunch, and then
Hmm.
bonuses were also tied to Metacritic reviews, which is no. These are all the kinds of shitty things we hear from like other companies in America. We hear about this game company tied the Metacritic review to their bonus, and the game got a 79, so they didn't get their bonus. Or like this company does crunch like crazy, or this company forced people to do this and that. We hear about this stuff from time to time with other companies in America, and it's all happening at one place at CD Projekt Red all at one time.
Hmm.
And there's still people being like, oh, it's not. At least they're not. It's like, oh, at least they're not Ubisoft. At least they're not EA. At least they're not these other people. And it's like, my brother in
And
Christ,
then
they're doing all
overnight
the
they
same
became
things we
that.
complain about.
Right.
They're doing all the things that you complain about for these other people, all in one house. We give Anthem shit for the way Anthem ran. We give BioWare shit for the way BioWare ran their in-house studios. We give Halo Infinite shit for like cutting their team, cutting a bunch of content, cramming a dude in a position, and being like, you have to make this game work within a year, even though it's a year later than we originally planned to like I'm releasing it. That shit happens all the time with things like Halo, with things like Bioware games. But CD Projekt Red literally did they speed ran all the shitty things you could do in one sitting.
Yep.
Um, so fuck them. Like above all others, fuck them for doing this. Like they deserve this. Like I
I
don't
love
like
it.
BioWare needs to work on their shit, yeah. EA needs to work on their shit. Activision, all these other companies, Blizzard especially, ABK, absolutely, they all need to work on their shit. But fuck CD Projekt Red for being the best one of all of them, and then burning it all in a couple years
Yeah.
for what I assume is money.
I think the net positive here is now we're seeing a lot of game companies delaying games.
Hmm.
How many delays have we seen this year? I mean,
Oh yeah,
no one wants to be the next Cyberpunk 2077.
most AAA games have delayed, I think,
Hmm.
or if they haven't delayed, they've been like, we're not giving a date until later.
We know the game
Um,
is fucking done.
Well, let's see. Final Fantasy 16 did have. I think they didn't have a delay technically, but they did say that they wanted to show us stuff earlier and they wanted it out earlier. So even though we didn't get a date and then a delay, we
Hmm.
were told when they gave us the date that it was further delayed than they had initially planned anyway. So it was a delay. It just wasn't like the here's your date. Oh, sorry, here's your date. It was more like the date's way over there and we had to do that because of delays, basically. Final Fantasy 14 had delays the last year or so, and their patch cycle even got delayed out, and then now their patch cycle is like on a slightly longer scale. They were smart about it. They've worked an extra like 3 or 4 weeks into their patch cycle per patch to
Hmm.
make sure they have time to do everything.
Destiny ended up getting like a
Um,
fifth season
hmm
in their last expansion because of delays
Oh
and stuff.
yeah, the season of the never ending. I remember that season. Oh god, that season went on for like what 150 days or some shit,
season
some
season
crazy
of the
stuff.
horde mode. Yeah, the one just it just was like a 6 month season almost.
It was like a 6 month
I'm
season.
pretty sure it
Yeah,
was a
people
six
were
month
like,
season.
yeah, it was. It was the whole back half of the year.
Hmm.
That's a whole nother. I
Yeah,
dislike the seasonal model, and oh boy, could I go off about how the seasonal model obviously isn't working if you have to make a 6 month fucking season
yeah, and I still
with
think that
no
they
new
could probably
content
give us a
to
little
hold
bit more
people
content
over.
for what people are getting, but
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
something
Well, even now we're
fucking
seeing
stop.
the current season. People are saying there's nothing here. There's nothing to do. It sucks.
Right, right.
And and I mean, I can vouch for that. The only thing in this season that I enjoyed really playing was Duality, and Duality wasn't even part of the season. It was a separate fucking purchase.
Yeah,
But I
just
digress.
a light dungeon. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just like we keep reporting on these stories about these game companies doing individual shitty things or having shitty practices along the way. And CD Projekt Red was one of the only companies you could point to back before Cyberpunk and say they've never done it. We have no reason to think they'll do it. You
Sure.
know. And now here we are. So scratch them off our list. My good team remaining is basically like the guys who made Metroid Dread. What's their name? Oh man, not Retro. Retro's doing Metroid Prime.
Hmm.
Do you remember the name of the Metroid Dread team? They did the Metroid Samus Returns, right? The project, the Samus Returns on 3DS
I
as
think
well.
so.
And
That's
they
not
were
retro.
like,
It's not retro, is it?
it's not Retro. They have a different name. And but they've only done like a couple of remakes and then Metroid Dread, and they've sort of proven themselves
Right.
by doing that. Um, they were
Uh,
really solid. I mean, Retro Studio as well obviously hasn't really had any problems or
Mercury
anything like
Steam.
that.
I should have known that.
Mercury Steam. I knew there was something with Steam in the name. Um, and Yoshi's FF14 team,
Yeah,
who produces banger after banger,
facts.
while fighting cancer. I cannot believe that team's dedication. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, like I have zero faith in AAA studios anymore. I equate AAA studio to game unfinished. And
Yeah,
I've
my
been sinking my teeth into a lot of like indie games, um,
yeah.
and having a lot more fun with it.
No, absolutely. Like my favorite games of the year so far have either been indie games or small scale games. Like my biggest games this
Shredder's
year
Revenge,
were
man.
probably Shredder's Revenge was one of them. Tunic was one of them because
Mhm.
Tunic, despite having a little bit of hiccups on a technical level for me, Tunic does a lot of good things really well. Especially if you like beat the game. Um,
Okay,
that was good. I mean,
underhanded.
but it feels like for the last 4 or 5 years, my favorite games of all time for the last 4 or 5 years have been like indie titles.
Yeah.
Undertale and Deltarune are fantastic. Celeste was fantastic. We keep playing these little indie games off on the side sometimes, and they turn out to be gems.
Hmm.
Now, of course, that doesn't mean they're all gonna be. It's just across the entire span of all AAA gaming, there's rarely ever games that stand out as like quality games that don't require you to jump through hoops, pay microtransactions, blah 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 blah, or like it'll be a good game and then it turns out the company was shitty behind the scenes or something. But I don't know. It's I've been looking more and more into indie gaming as time goes on, and I've been having more and more like I enjoy this, this is fun, and
Absolutely.
less bad experiences with them.
Definitely.
And
Yeah,
when you have a
like I
bad
mean,
experience with an indie game, it's not like they were shitty and like screwed people out of paychecks and then like crunched people. It's usually like it's just not your kind of game, or the game mechanic isn't a mechanic you like. It's
just
usually
it didn't
subjective
hit a
stuff if
mark,
you're not
right?
enjoying it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there will be cases like corner cases like what is it, Vending the Ink Machine? We watched that whole video on them a little while ago. I think I showed you that video, didn't I?
Wild. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Where like they were like a small studio that they only ever got up to like 100 people, so they were definitely like an indie game that blew up and then had some money to play with and hired a team, and they fucked it up all royally and blew their money and burned their bridges. But it feels like it rarely happens with indie studios, and even when it happens with indie studios, it's like one dude or two dudes are responsible for it because that's all it ran. It ran up to like that one guy that ran it, or the
Hmm.
two guys that run it, and then those people burn out or whatever. Everyone else goes about their separate ways. Yeah, it still sucks when you see it happen to them, but like I don't know. I guess it sucks more when AAA does it because it doesn't feel like there's anything you can do about it. When an indie studio goes under because everybody's mad at them, well, okay, everyone got mad at them and then they went under. Case closed. CD
Right.
Projekt Red's not going anywhere. Like
Right.
we're not gonna boycott CD Projekt Red out of business or anything.
Nope.
Look at ABK. If any company was going to be boycotted out of into oblivion in the last 2 years, it would have been Blizzard. And instead of getting
Or
boycotted into
EA.
oblivion, or EA. And instead of boycott into oblivion, they released Diablo Immortal and made millions of dollars. So it's like there will always be people who play those games. You know, it's never going to go away. You can't effectively police those companies from the bottom of the totem pole. So
You're not wrong.
they might bounce back if they buy a Rockstar writer. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. Like CD Projekt, and that's the thing. I would hope what happens with CD Projekt Red now is they realize how bad they fucked up, and they make some changes in their management chain, and they go back to what made them good pre 2014, 2010, whatever, when they went public and they had all this change. Like, but I don't know if they can, right? Because that's the other thing is a lot of these companies when they go like this route, that money becomes like what sustains that company's livelihood and its reason to exist, and they don't get to go back. Like
Right.
they have shareholders and stakeholders they have to be beholden to. They have quotas they have to meet, and they just can't not do crunch. They can't not do. I
Right.
mean, of course they can. Of course, I'm not arguing for crunch. They of course can do without it. But internally, the people who actually handle the financials won't let that happen. They'll tell them this game needs to be out by Christmas. This
Right.
game needs to be out in 2 years or 3 years, not 6 years. Like we have to MTX, we have to this, that, the other.
The,
Like
the problem with publicly traded companies is that they have a legal fiduciary responsibility to get shareholders profit. And
yep,
that's where you see a lot of the problems with just capitalism in general, because it forces companies to just do immoral shit,
do what makes money. Yeah.
letting your employees starve, making them work overtime, releasing
Yep.
products that aren't finished, and it's not just beholden to game companies; it's everything.
Anything.
Um, so I mean, that's what we're really seeing. Like that's what the problem is. Like we're really facing with the gaming industry, and it's like we just see it time over time over time with AAA releases. I mean, what do you do? With companies like EA, and you go in the Reddit comments, it's like, stop buying these fucking games, stop buying these fucking games. People don't listen. They continue to buy like Call of Duties and Battlefields, and they're not good games. They're not finished. Like Battlefield. Look at what the condition of
Yeah, most
Battlefield
recent
is in.
Battlefield, holy shit. Halo Infinite, like
Right.
and that's the thing. Like you get people who sit down and talk about like, hey, you could sit down with a Halo Infinite fan right now and be like, hey, look, Halo Reach, and like hand them the disc for Halo Reach and be like, look, this game, Halo Reach, $60 at launch, everything was included, Forge was in it, multiplayer was in it, story was in it, campaign, all this stuff. They had a whole system to rank up. They had all these things you could acquire with these points that you got for ranking up, yada yada yada. And then you could hand someone like Halo Infinite and be like, free multiplayer campaign or multiplayer component,
Mm-hmm.
broken, doesn't work, has lots of problems, doesn't have content, yada yada yada. Story component only, no Forge, no 2/3 of the content's missing because they had to cut 2/3 of that content,
No co-op.
and it's no co-op of any kind, no couch co-op, no online co-op, none of that, and it's $60 just for that part. The multiplayer is already free. The rest of the stuff's just missing. $60, please.
What's
And
the
people
better
will still
deal?
give them $60 and be like, "Oh yeah, no, it was still good though." And it's like,
What's it?
you just walked into your local burger shop where you've always gotten a burger, fries, and a shake and a soda for like $10, and now you walked in today and the guy was like, "We don't do shakes anymore. I have soda and I have fries. The fries aren't coming up yet. I'll give them to you when they're ready, but it'll be a separate charge.
Yeah.
The burger and the drink alone is like $20." And you're like, "Yeah, it's still great though." And it's like, there's
Right.
stuff missing.
It
There's stuff that's
reminds
coming
me
late.
of
It's overpriced. Like, come on.
exactly. Do you remember that Jamie Oliver clip where he like blends chicken in front of kids and they're like, "Ooh, this is fucking nasty," and then he breads it, fries it in a frying pan, and makes them into chicken nuggets, and the kids are just like, "Yeah, we're gonna eat that." Like you just saw what was in it, and you're still all about okay.
Yeah.
Like okay, all right. There's some kind of weird dissonance there. I don't know. Let's move on.
It's just I think for a lot of people, I think
Okay.
they're chasing like the nostalgia, right? Like they want Halo to be like
Yeah.
it was when they were kids because when they were kids, Halo was the shit. So they want to be able to play Halo like that again. Everyone's always
Sure.
looking for that. Like I wish we could play it like it used to be. I mean, that's the only reason I have any hope for Fable is because Fable is one of my favorite games in the Xbox in like high school, middle school, high school. So like, I'm still in the back of my head like it'd be really cool if I could have that Fable experience again, but we know it's not going to be like that.
No, the
So,
days of like Bungie helping out with Halo are long gone. It
mhm.
ain't coming back. The glory
Yeah.
days of Halo is long gone. But you can still play those experiences. I mean, they're still there. Go play that.
Yeah. I just think that's a reasoning that people use for why they defend companies 8 years after they're like dead, or
That's the
franchises
problem,
when they've been handed to a new company and the new company does not run the franchise
right?
well at all.
So, like I've said 100 times before, and think I've thoroughly demonstrated it, but Microsoft does have a knack of buying studios up past their prime, and
All
that's
the
I think
time.
that's the thing that they're facing right now is we have games that are just coming out not finished, or they're a mess, or they're just mismanaged, and that's what you get.
Dude, I had a friend message me and he was like, "Did you see this PlayStation and Bungie thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "That's interesting." I'm like, "Yeah, it's really cool." And he's like, "I think Xbox with their buy of ABK still had like the better deal there." And I was like, "For what?" And he was like, "Well, the games that they're gonna put out or whatever, or not, but the ABK. What was the other one they bought? Bethesda."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Well, yeah, they bought Bethesda and ABK and everything, and I think they probably got the better buy over like Sony buying just Bungie." And I'm like, "What do they make? Like Sony's got Bungie, and now they've got Destiny. They've got two new IPs Destiny's working on the side. They've got whatever this other game they're working on is a mobile game or something.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, they're growing. That company's getting bigger. The games are getting more popular. They're getting more players over time. Like I disagree with a lot of what they're doing, but they're obviously in some capacity being successful.
And
Like
there's an intent for them to work on new projects and direct those projects.
the answer probably. It was like one of those things where I'm like, what has Bethesda made that anyone cares about? Yeah, people are excited for Skyrim 2 in the form of Elder Scrolls 6, I guess, but like we've seen that once in 2 years, and then they haven't said a word about it since. I don't think that
That
game exists still. Like,
Yeah, I mean we've seen that
um,
trailer at E3 4 fucking times now.
yeah,
It's
like the little symbol over the water.
yeah,
But I'm like, what do you guys like? What do you guys think is coming out? Like, I'm like, what do you think is coming out of Bethesda that matters? What's the last Bethesda game you played? Fallout 76? Did you enjoy that? What did you play before that from Bethesda?
right.
Fallout 4? Most people who liked Fallout didn't even like Fallout 4. When I played Fallout 4, which was my first Fallout game, everyone said I was an idiot for liking it. Then I should go play Vegas or 3. So like,
I wouldn't
even
say you're an
Bethesda
idiot,
fans
but you
don't
should
like.
try those out.
Well, but like even Bethesda fans don't like the Bethesda products for the last 10 years. So
Right.
like what Doom? id Software? Does that even count? That wasn't even them. Like, what are you excited for? Elder Scrolls Online? No fucking way. Nobody's excited for Elder Scrolls Online. I was like, I don't know what you're like, what you think, but he was like, he's like, they just have a lot of IPs that they could dredge up from those companies, and I'm like, oh, absolutely. There's a lot of IPs they could dredge back
They
up,
could.
but how many of those are going to be shitty cash grabs, free to play mobile games with MTX,
Yeah.
remakes that are $40, $50 and are missing key features that people wanted? You know what I mean?
Microsoft could have done stuff with Banjo and Kazooie. They could have done stuff
For
with Double O
Kojima.
Seven. They have yet to
Yeah.
do it.
Oh yeah. They could have. Well, how many times like they bought Lion's Head and they didn't make a good Fable after that? They bought they bought that studio. They were working with Platinum Games actually to make that fighting game, something Phantom Dust,
Mm.
and then they just canceled it. They were working with Platinum again on another project. I think it was oh no, they were working with Platinum on Scalebound and then scrapped that whole thing. Phantom Dust was a different company they also backed out on. Go figure. Yeah, it's like I don't know. That's a whole other thing, but like, yeah, I just I don't have high hopes for CD Projekt Red to turn this around because every time we see this happen, they don't turn around.
Right.
I don't think any of those companies have actually made a positive turnaround. They've always
They just doubled
like
down on it.
like an
Pretend it never
expose
happened.
comes out. Jason Schreier writes a big article about crunch and about bonuses and about the culture and about sexual assaults, and then those companies are like, "We're very hurt that Jason would write this about us," and then we never hear about it again. You know what I mean? Like that's always what happens. Like
Yeah,
an article
they
comes
never
out, it
actually
makes the
addressed the
rounds.
actual issue at hand.
They're like, yeah, we understand things are bad. Things need to be worked on. What did Halo Infinite do? They came out, they put out Halo Infinite, and then they were like, what do you think? And everyone's like, it sucks. And they're like, what about if we added some new like cosmetic armor that no one cares about? And they were like, it sucks. And they're like, what about if we gave you guys co-op eventually? And it's like, it still sucks. And they're like, all right, what were you working on that co-op? And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you guys please do something useful for this? Like, give us Forge mode? And they were like, we hear you want Forge mode, but how about 2003 tech demo redone?
We're almost a full year after release, and they're still like Halo is still not in a place where it should have been released.
Exactly. And what's funny is when you talk to the dev team, when you hear the interviews and stuff like that, Jason Schreier style article that pops up every time, they say that the development team was like, "There's no way this game's ready within the time frame you're asking. It needs 2 more years. It needs a year and a half." And that's literally what happened with CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk. The devs literally thought it was an April Fool's joke when they gave that second to last release date because it needed 2 more years, and then that 2 years became like 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, make it work. And they were like, and you could see like the strung together duct tape fixes for like AI for driving, AI for
Right.
people moving around.
I think if like the Halo,
like,
if the cops didn't spawn in, there would have been no other interaction with cops for
right
in those modes.
Well, it's the same problem you had with like that's why the driving had to be the way it was. They literally have to despawn cars when you're not looking at them because they couldn't be bothered to make the cars drive around other cars. Like,
right.
Dude, if you started the clock right now at 10:30 and told me like that by this time tomorrow you want like a version of like a driving game like that where the cars drive around each other, I could have cars driving around each other in before I go to bed tonight. Like,
Nice.
no, it wouldn't be as pretty as Cyberpunk, but I wouldn't have
Sure.
a fucking 200-person team working on it either. But like, and it's not to say that the devs like the devs can make this happen. The problem is that you have to give devs time to make it work and test it and make it and do everything. And they were not giving them that time. This was not what they intended. This was they hadn't worked on that yet, and then an executive came into the office and was like, "I need the car shit done today." And the solution was like, "Well, fuck. I guess I make the cars despawn when you don't look at them because we don't have anything else ready." And then it shipped like the same fucking day. Like, it's insane. The amount of pressure they put on these devs to do this shit, and then they crunch them, and then they like hang bonuses over their head in degrading ways. And then the game comes out, and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry you don't like that. It's it is what it is. This is what we put out because this is what was given to us." And the devs are in the fucking Twitter is like screaming that like they didn't want it to come out like this. Like,
yeah, they threw the devs under the bus. They threw the testing company under the bus. The actual like playtest company. They threw them under the bus just recently.
I remember that the whole QA division. Yeah, I remember that. The whole QA, they were like, this all got through QA, so don't get mad at us. And it was like, are you fucking serious? You act like QA had all the time to actually do this. Like, yeah, like you actually gave QA a full time to do all their stuff, and QA gave you back the project and greenlit the entire thing. Like, no, of course not. Oh my god. Right. And that's what bugs me the most about this is like, this isn't a shitty company being shitty for the 100th time that we're talking about. This is a company who objectively was doing really well and had standards. Like even when they announced 77, they were like, it'll come out when it's ready. They knew they were poking fun at the rest of the industry for rushing shit. And what did they do?
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on. We can talk about this all night.
Yeah. Oh, man.
On a more positive note, we've got PlayStation Plus July's lineup. We have Saints Row. That's coming. This is going to be for premium and extra tier on PlayStation. We have Assassin's Creed Unity, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and we have Avengers. And this surprised a lot of people. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrated is coming, and we also have Stray. That is also coming. So let's take a look here. We also, I guess, we're getting the Avengers with the Spider-Man because all those people playing Avengers right now. That's the kind of like the I don't know if anyone's going to be lining up to play that one, but we'll see. But we do have Stray, and that's obviously been gaining a lot of traction on Twitter and in the gaming industry as a whole. It's developing a definite cult following. I will be playing that, and I'm sure a lot of other people will. So that'll probably be a game I do stream on this channel once that comes out. And that should be coming out soon, I would think, if it's not already out. But yeah, I'll be checking that out. I know Dark was talking about it, and I'm pretty sure you were into it too.
Yeah, absolutely. It just seems like a passion project kind of game, like something that's going to be enjoyable.
Yeah. So this looks like a cyberpunk themed game done right. We'll see.
I wonder if the cars drive around each other. We'll have to wait and see. I swear to God, if I see a car go around another car in this game, I'm going to fucking email it to CDProjekt Red and be like, why didn't you give your team the time to do this?
Email footage of it on a thumb drive or something. You
Yeah,
pieces of shit.
and then I get arrested because it gets swapped up with like one of Randy Pitchford's thumb drives of like porn or whatever. Remember that whole thing?
Please
You don't
tell
remember
me.
that whole thing? You
No.
don't remember that? Oh my god, that was pre-podcast. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
We may have like an archive story to talk about. Oh my god. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, here we go. January 11 of 2019. Let me throw you the Ars Technica article. um, let's see. Uh, Here, just look at this fucking article. I'll send you the Discord.
All right. So it wasn't Randy
Oh,
Pitchford's thumb drive, was it?
it was.
Shut up.
Go ahead and look at that thing I just sent you.
The Gearbox CEO says he left a USB stick of porn at medieval time. Oh my god. So there's a lot to disseminate from this. First of all, why do you need a thumb drive of porn?
Well, there's a reason why they had a thumb drive of porn. It's
Uh-huh.
because it was underage.
Oh no. I was gonna say here, like,
So
don't you people have phones? But now I'm not gonna say that because you shouldn't.
you should do that with anything.
Oh my
Um,
god. Oh
yeah, so
no.
the suit alleges
What?
that Pitchford breached his fiduciary duties by exploiting Gearbox employees and property to fund Pitchford's private cravings. Um, Two sensational accusations about Pitchford's behavior: that he accidentally left a selection of underage porn on a USB stick at a restaurant, and that he used his company's money to host parties where adult men have reportedly exposed themselves to minors to the amusement of Randy Pitchford. Um,
What the fuck?
he went back to the restaurant and declared that the thumb drive was his and requested its prompt return. Now, to be fair, I did not follow what happened with this lawsuit
Well,
after that.
is he
I
still
don't know.
employed?
Yeah, he was the one who was. Remember when E3 last year was like just they were just talking about the Borderlands movie? That was him. That was there the whole time. He was the guy. He was the face of that whole thing. Um,
Unreal.
Randy's rebuttal was the porn was a quote magic trick.
What's the trick?
I Pitchford talks at length about that he enjoys watching cam girl pornography, in which a host exposes himself to the live feed and takes requests and financial tips from consumers. He explained that he was a consumer of this content. He confirmed that he copied a specific video to the memory stick, as he describes it. Work out the method of how a cam girl host faked the act of female ejaculation.
Baked it.
So he saved the video to a thumb drive so he could figure out how she did it. He had to download a video of a girl coming because he couldn't figure out how to do it. How did she do it?
Oh my
How did she
god.
do it?
My man
Women don't
Pitchford.
come.
My man Pitchford can't make a woman come. That's amazing.
Regular Ben Shapiro over here. He's like, how did she do it? How did she get wet?
It's not supposed to be that wet.
Oh
Alright.
no.
Alright.
Oh no.
I don't even know what to say to that. I came here to talk about new games for July,
That
and we're
was a
talking
fun-
about
that
fucking
was a fun
squirting
turn. It's
off
always a good time
the
on the
rails.
podcast. It's never,
Absolutely.
it's never a clean break, huh?
Nope. No, not when you're getting squirted on.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Okay, well, I need some eye bleach.
Whatever happened with that, I have no idea. I don't know. Apparently, like the
Obviously,
underage thing wasn't
nothing
necessarily
happened.
true. Well, I think what happened was like I think she wasn't actually underage. She was one of those like barely legal types, and that's what they meant.
Mm.
And after that, it was just like, well, yeah, it's all weird shit, but it's not illegal, so I guess whatever.
Are
And he
you
kind of
sure
just
they're just
ran
not
with it.
lying? And they're just
Dude,
not
I don't know.
facing any consequences because of their position?
Yeah, but it was a magic trick.
I have seen a lot of magic tricks in my life, but
Oh my god.
I've never needed that explained to me. I don't know.
How did she do it? I need to know. Download the video. He goes and gets a
Get good.
USB flash drive, puts it in his computer, saves the video.
Dear
I
Randy
need to look at
Pitchford,
this later.
get good.
Jesus Christ! You couldn't. Why the USB drive? You couldn't just copy the link or something? I mean, like, okay, I get. I don't know. I don't know.
There's so many questions. Like, I was just like, I don't know. I don't get it.
I haven't needed a flash drive.
Why
since
do you
high
need to
school.
take a thumb drive full of porn to medieval times? What
To the
what is the
restaurant?
path?
Yeah, that was the best part. He brought
What
it
is
to the
the
restaurant.
path?
Like, what is it?
I just I don't get
Like
it.
after the performance is over, he's like, "You guys have a computer I can use? I need to solve a magic trick." Like, oh, okay. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I cannot believe you never heard about that. That's
Sleight of
incredible.
hand.
What a story.
I can't believe I didn't hear about it
Sleight
either.
of hand. Sleight of hand. Where did it go? Oh my god. You can make so many like.
Where'd it go?
Where's Cyberpunk with these dildos when we need them?
What's the
The
deal
sleight
with
of hand
Squirt?
trick.
Where did it go? Where did it come from? Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh boy. What a. Oh my god, it's the Joker trick all over again from Batman, the second Batman, The Dark Knight. Want to see this pencil disappear?
Wanna say me make a girl squirt?
Randy Pitchford downloads it.
Yeah.
I have to figure out how they shot this scene.
Oh man. Wild.
I can't. We need to move on to our next.
Remember when this podcast was about video games? It's turning into Howard Stern over here. Uh-oh. Do I not have a thing for this? I guess not. Oh, I don't. That's right. Let's talk about Unity. Unity kind of sucks. We can talk about that.
Hang on. Disclaimer about that statement, because the actual engine isn't bad. It's good.
For now.
Well, hang on. Let me rephrase that. It's not bad. You can make good small scale software on it. You can make good mobile software on it because it actually scales down for mobile much better than Unreal does, unless you really know what you're doing.
Sure.
However, counterpoint to my own statement, fuck Unity.
Okay, so
God.
we've got
God.
Unity seems to be in a race with itself to be like the worst company in the world.
The race to the bottom. And they see the reflection and they're trying to outrace it. They're like, it keeps going faster. We have to go faster.
Goddamn shadow keeps following me everywhere.
Oh my god.
So we saw just as early as like June, middle of June, they announced they're laying off like hundreds of workers.
Yep.
And the one thing I don't have on my notes was that they were basically eliminating their their community forums, where I guess they had, for the lack of better terms, liaisons of that company that would work and help in those forums with like community members or people who are just like, you know, amateur developers and and everyone in between. And
even just as an archive, it was full of answers for people
Sure.
that weren't in the documentation.
Mm-hmm.
God, I don't know. My gripes with Unity go back about a year, because this whole thing with them started, I think, back when Unity and Unreal around the same time made changes to their licensing and their pricing. And Unreal shifted towards helping smaller developers make ends meet by being like, the license is completely free. There's a bunch of free assets in the Unity store. Go nuts. We've got Pixel Bridge with all kinds of like mega scans you can use for free, and it's all yours to use as much as you like. And will only ever hit you for money if you make like over a certain amount of money that's enough money that you don't care about them taking any money. And they only take 5% flat once you get to that point. I think you had to hit like, someone said 1 million, and I'm pretty sure it's not that much.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's like 10 grand across 3 months or something like that. I should just look it up. But
so you have to hold $10,000 across 3 months. Like, you
have to make that much over 3 months. If you make like if you have a good month and that's it, they still won't come after you for it. Like, whereas like, and then around the same time, Unity changed their licensing stuff and made more tiers that had more split up things, but was more expensive overall. And you have to pay the licensing fee during development, not just when you publish, which means you're paying for that fee for years until you get your project out the door, and then trying to recoup that losses. So it was just really shitty of them to begin with. And this is at a time when like Adobe was having that problem because their Creative Cloud is bullshit, and they've been charging people for products for like they went like basically product as a service. So you
Right.
can't buy licenses for like Photoshop or shit
And
like that anymore.
conveniently, if you can't buy the stuff a la carte, they
Yeah,
have,
exactly.
and like most graphic
Hmm.
designers are going to use Photoshop and Illustrator. And so what do? They put
They're separate. Yeah.
Illustrator in a pack, and they put Photoshop in a pack, unless you want to buy the entire Creative Suite for a small discounted price. And it's
Hmm.
so shitty manipulative. And
And
that's
it's
why I'm
not even
still on
buying because
CS5.
it's yeah, it's like pay as a service. You still have to keep paying for it. You can't just pay them
Right.
on upfront and then have it. And then yeah, Unity changed their licensing thing, so like you needed multiple seats. Like the Unity license was like for one seat in your company, so
Hmm.
like you'd have to pay for multiple developers too to be using it, and it was like fucking wild compared to like Unreal and what they were doing, or what Godot does, or what Game Maker does. You have every other tool on the market to make games is better than this now.
Hmm.
So Unity was still a good engine, but with like a really bad bar to entry, and then the documentation problem where the forms are going away and they were rolling back the documentation and leaving that as the only thing. And the documentation is not great. It does not help with a lot of people for a lot of
Right.
problems. And they were like, why
It's
can't
not
you just
helping people with
archive these
dynamic issues.
answers?
Hmm.
Well, they were like, why don't you just archive these answers and let people search them? And they were
Right.
like, no, not even that. And it was like, and then the layoffs, which we found out, the layoffs was working on a game in house called Gogia or Gogaya,
Hmm.
which was effectively their version of like I'll loop back around to it actually after because it's a longer thing to talk about and I don't want to lose where we are.
That's fine.
Um, there's so they were working on this game, and then I saw a tweet that I sent to you that was really funny about it, where they were like, they wanted to see how building a game in the Unity engine was in terms of time and cost effective and money and everything. So they put a team together to do that, and when they realized that it's expensive and time consuming to use their software to make games, they fired that team rather than let them finish that project, which is like holy shit. Imagine being like a chef and being like, yeah, like it's easy to like make good pizza, and then halfway through making the pizza you throw the whole thing out because you can't make pizza. Like what the fuck? Like what, excuse me?
Yeah.
And they're
Well,
like, well, I can still make good ingredients for pizza, and it's like, well, okay, but maybe if pizza is the end result of the system you have, maybe your system should be used to prove that it can make pizza. Like
right.
I don't fucking know. It's weird, I guess. Um, and then so that happened, and then and go on. There is more, obviously, they've been doing.
Well, I mean, it's it should be noted too that their CEO is a former CEO of EA, so you
Yep.
can see a lot of parallels here between the actions of
Yes.
this company and what EA has done in the past. I mean, it's almost direct parallels. Um, so they announced this week, or was it? Yeah, I guess it was this week or the
Like a
beginning.
week ago.
Okay,
A week ago, maybe.
Unity was merging with a company that made basically malware
Hmm.
installers. Um,
Iron Source. Yep.
and then I guess when asked about process, and as far as incorporating this and all that stuff, the CEO, he went on record, and I tried to truncate this as much as possible, but the boy likes to hear himself talk. That is for sure
Hmm.
here.
That
So
is true.
let me pull my stuff back up here. Oop. So he said Ferrari. I guess this was after he was asked about like process and incorporating old processes versus new processes and incorporating now monetization and like basically people being worried about this company bringing this company in to integrate monetization. And he said Ferrari and some other high-end car manufacturers still use clay and carving knives. It's still a very small portion of the gaming industry that works this way. They're the most beautiful, pure, and brilliant people. They're also some of the biggest fucking idiots. So he just
Hmm.
called basically the gaming industry, people who don't want to incorporate and bake in monetization in the development process, fucking idiots.
Hmm.
Because it used to be the case that developers would throw their game over the wall to a publicist and Salesforce, which is kind of like he's already like being like, completely derogatory
Oh yeah, absolutely.
to this method that works that keeps the monetization from being baked into the game in the first place. This model is baked into the philosophy of a lot of art forms as a medium. It's almost like for a reason. Not everyone's out to basically price gouge with their product, and it's one I'm deeply respectful of, and I know their dedication and care. But this industry divides people between those who still hold to that philosophy and those who are who massively embrace how to figure out what makes a successful product, because we all know that like just deeply monetizing a game is what makes a product successful.
Absolutely. Well, I think his metric of success is different than what a regular
Right.
person's would be, unfortunately. But
This is where the cycle of our feedback comes, our cycle of feedback comes back, and they can choose to ignore it, but to choose to not know it at all is not a great call. And that's John. I can't pronounce his last name. Some kind of pasta Unity CEO. So, so, um, so yeah, basically he just. I mean, this got a lot of people fired up. Because
yeah, rightfully
at
so.
the core, developers don't give a shit about monetizing every step of their game. They're not designing the games around that. They're designing a plot point, just like a movie. I mean, they're like imagine like I don't know, watching a movie and then like every 5 seconds you're hit with like, oh, you spend 15 cents to add this actor into the middle of the movie, or make them say these lines, or make them have this outcome. It's like it doesn't work, and like a developer is not functionally doing that. Like when they're creating their game, they don't give a shit about the monetization. It's when the financials come in and they're like, okay, now what can we do to make more money off of this game, which still isn't great. I must be old fashioned where I come from a time where a game is complete when you get it, and that's it.
Yeah,
um
I'm like of the school of thought where like I any game I design I wouldn't want to have to do them. I
mhm,
don't have a problem with like cosmetics because I get that it's like optional and stuff. And if I look at cosmetics as like if I pick up a game and I'm enjoying the game and I know that money's going back to like if Tunic added a shop with cosmetics, I'd probably buy some just to throw
mhm.
money at the developer. Like, but that's maybe here nor there for what we're talking about with what he's talking about. He's talking about like, and he's given talks on this kind of shit before
Sure.
about like being in the middle of a shooting game and you run out of ammo and the game pops up and says, you know, you can have another full clip for $1.
Yeah,
A
he
lot of
went on
people
record
won't
and
buy it because it
literally
feels.
said, imagine what we could do with a
Mhm.
game where you could basically charge for ammo. It's like
Yep,
no one's ever,
absolutely.
no developers ever thought like that.
Yep. Um, and that's the thing. Like every developer that you talk to. I mean, I've worked on stuff. I've had people I've talked to, you know, and I guarantee you talk to any creative ever, you know, you're not gonna walk up to Shigeru Miyamoto and be like, "Hey man, when you were like making Zelda, like, how much did you think you were gonna charge for that game?" Like, fuck out of here. The dude sat there and wrote down the good ideas for gameplay, the good ideas for narrative, the good ideas for the level design and the
Hmm.
stories. At no point in the history of like video games has Shigeru Miyamoto ever sat down. I'm sure he's talked money and I'm sure he's had to figure out prices. But I don't think he's ever sat down and been like, I want to design a new game and I want to make $40 per copy and I'm gonna make DLC that's $20 as well. I don't know what either of these are gonna be yet, but that's what I want to see the money turn in. Like, no. That's nobody does that.
Right.
You know, if I have a game idea and I sit down and I talk about it with you guys, I literally I've had you and Dark both in on discussions where I've been talking about ideas for games, and I've never sat there and been like, yeah, here's how I monetize this game. What do you think? It doesn't matter. It never matters. It's the
Hmm.
last thing on my mind, and it would only be to keep like a roof over the head or something. So I understand that has to be there in some capacity in terms of making money.
Sure.
Like, you know, the guy who made Tunic can't just give it away if he wants to keep like his doors open.
Like, of
But
course, you want the game to be successful, but you also want
at
the game
that
to be well
point,
received.
yeah, but at that point, what that is, that boils down to looking at the product as it's done and being like, now that this product is 100% complete, what do I think this product is worth? And that's all it ever is. The guys who made Shredder's Revenge, I guarantee they put that game together front to back, and then at the end of the day, they stopped and looked at it and said, how much is this game worth now that it's in its final state? They did not work on the game and, like, after they added the four turtles, be like, okay, what else can we get in here for characters? And be like, oh, what if we put in April and Splinter and Casey and we charge $5 for each of them? They didn't do that.
Right. They could
Like
have.
that, if any discussion had ever come around adding those characters behind a paywall, it would have been from like a CEO or an executive or a manager or
Hmm.
financial person being like, "What have you charged for these?" That's why they're not like that
Well,
because they
they
literally
even
they designed the game like an old school game where you would unlock them over time or
sure.
whatever.
And they even went on record and saying, "Hey, we don't have plans for like DLC for this game." And I think a lot of people were like, "Well, we would actually like some." And I even brought
Yeah,
up the
yeah,
adding in the punk frogs as playable characters as well. And then
yep.
they kind of went back. I don't know if they would necessarily backtrack, but they're like, just because we didn't have any plans for DLC doesn't mean that we couldn't do DLC. Which I mean, is a good thing, because it
Hmm.
wasn't their intent from the start. And we now that's an indictment, that they didn't have that intention. So
Yeah.
would I pay for
Um,
DLC for that game if they brought like Punk Frogs out as playable characters or added some more levels? Fuck yeah, man! I would love more of that experience.
Absolutely, and that's the same thing. Like I'm saying is like I don't have any problem putting money into the hands of developers when it's um,
Quality product.
a quality product and it's relevant like that for
Right.
sure. Um, but those people did not think of that up front. Usually, things like that get added. Like even when I was getting my degree and stuff, they would talk about like things like that being added in at the end. And that's why they say like having things like cosmetics or a cash shop for things that are like non-essential to the gameplay and stuff, like modes or things, is usually more well received because players don't need that stuff up front,
Mhm.
but it gives them an outlet to like maybe give you more money if they think you deserve more money or if they really want to see you like support you or something. Like if I make a card game and my card game has specific cards that are locked behind paywall purchases, that's shitty. You shouldn't have to buy those cards.
Right.
If I make it so like I have my entire game and then I sell special tables to put the cards on while you're playing a match or special backs for the cards, that's a whole other story because you don't need any of that. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter. So if I put those up there for like $1, don't buy it. It's literally doesn't affect the game in any capacity that
Right. It
matters.
doesn't keep you out
And
of playing the game. You can still enjoy the game
right,
the way
it
it was
just gives you
intended
the
to be
chance
played.
to like throw me $1 if you think the skin looks cool on the back of the cards and
Mhm.
you want to throw me $1. Like I mean, shit. I like developers could just open up Patreons and shit, and just be like, "Give us money if you like our work," and they'd get money that way. They don't even have to make this extra product that they put on like cash stores and shit,
Sure.
but they do it anyway because they understand that that's it's a lot more feasible for people to buy the thing in the game than it is to like go find your Patreon after they play it or something. But no, it's a world of difference between people doing things like that because it's acceptable within the community in terms of like not being invasive or predatory versus the kind of shit that he's talking about where it literally takes advantage of like a hot thinking situation or an emotional situation to like catch you in a situation where you're vulnerable and be like it's only $1, it's only $2, I already paid $2, I already paid $1, it's only $4 but I've already paid $2 twice, like
Mhm.
all that shit. um Here, I've got something for you. It's a 1 minute YouTube clip from 2011 by this John Rigatoni. um Let's see. Here you are, sir. Feel free to play that.
All right. Let's pull her up.
For the people at home, a little idea of what we're talking about. When this was his opinion 12 years ago or 11 years ago, but it has not changed.
Well, give me
It's either
one.
gotten worse or stayed the same,
Right.
given his recent statements.
I don't know. Is it this one here? Okay.
The second thing, and this is a point that I think might be lost on many, is a big and substantial portion of digital revenues are microtransactions. When you are 6 hours into playing Battlefield and you run out of ammo in your clip and we ask you for $1 to reload, you're really not very price sensitive at that point in time. And for what it's worth, the cogs on the clip really low. And so essentially what ends up happening, and the reason the play first, pay later model works so nicely, is the consumer gets engaged in a property. They might spend 10, 20, 30, 50 hours on the game. And then when they're deep into the game, they're well invested in it. We're not gouging, but we're charging. And at that point in time, the commitment can be pretty high.
Completely predatory.
Personal anecdote, I spent about $5,000 calendar year to date on doing just this thing, this type of thing on our products and others. I can readily attest to how well it works. But it's a great model, and I think it represents a substantially better future for the industry.
Wow. Well, I hope I don't get DMCA'd for that because it was playing some Star Wars music behind it, but I get.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fucking disgusting, man.
Yep. That's the thing. That was 10, 11 years ago when this wasn't even like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Like to the scale and
But
capacity
this was
that it's
always the
been
plan
lately.
with DLC. I mean, having a credit card tied to your console. This is always the plan. They just never said it. Just never. He was saying the quiet part out loud there, but
Right.
it's
It's so shitty. It's this, and it's like it's one thing again. Like you get people talking about like whales and shit, but this isn't even whales. This is just making people feel like it's important to them to like play their game and enjoy their time with it and exist in that world. And then like being like, hey, if you like what you're doing, pay us $1 like every so
it's no
often, or
different.
$3 every so often.
Yeah, I mean, this is like no different than a drug dealer. Like, oh, here, the first couple tastes are free, You gotta
Exactly.
get them hooked first. Get them deeply invested and hooked first. Then we'll start charging them more money. It's
Actually,
insane.
oh yeah, because that's what you're saying about like the play first model means like letting like the play first model is like what Diablo Immortal's doing, where like
Hmm.
the game's free to play, you can play it for a while and do things, but then it slowly infringes on you by being like, hey, look, an opportunity to spend money, and they ease you in with like it's only $1 and you're getting 600% more of the item for the purchase than you'd normally get if you just bought it straight up. How many times have you seen games do that where it's like the first time you buy gems in Pokemon Unite, it's like you get an extra 100
Hmm.
or you get an extra percentage, like 20% extra of what you'd normally get to try and incentivize you to make that first purchase. Because then it's easier to justify you've already made a purchase. That second purchase is even cheaper, or it's the same price, but you've already made that purchase before, so it's not that big of a deal. You did it last time, it didn't hurt. That kind of thing. It's shitty. It's predatory. It's capitalizing on your. It's a few things. It's like gambler's fallacy, I believe, is one of them, and the sunk cost fallacy.
Hmm.
And it's the kind of psychological bullshit that does not need to be in gaming to take advantage of people. It just
Absolutely.
is now here because it works. It does make money because people fall for it, or people don't know better, or some people just can't help it. And shitty.
Sure. I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but a couple other things that happened. I guess the CEO then issued a 2-page apology for calling the entire
Mm-hmm.
gaming industry fucking idiots for
Dude, it
not
was.
paying.
If I'm not mistaken, it was such a non-apology because
Sure.
he like. It's one of those like I'm sorry if people took it that way kind of apologies.
There's no other way to take it. Like, so, it's one of those like, sorry I got caught being an asshole. Uh,
Mm-hmm. He says, "My word choice was crude."
it wasn't crude. It was. Was it crude? Sure, but that's not the problem.
Yeah. That's
Like,
well, that's the thing. He's like, I'm going to start with an apology. My word choice was crude. I'm sorry. I'm listening, and I will do better. What I can do, perhaps, is provide more on what I was thinking when I did the interview. What I would have said if I had taken great care. So he's not saying I was wrong and I need to
right.
correct what I said. He's saying what I said was maybe crude and could have been worded better. But he still stands by the points that he made. And then he says, first, I have great respect for game developers. The work they do is amazing. The creativity can be incredible, whether on AAA console, mobile, or indie game, designed to be played by millions, or a creative project, a game made just for the sheer joy of it. Second, one thing I have seen is that most game devs work incredibly hard and want people to play their game to enjoy it, and when appropriate, for players to engage deeply. For the game devs I have worked most closely with, there is often anxiety about whether players will love the game and appreciate all the love and work that went into making it. Sure. Third, sometimes all a game developer wants is to have a handful of friends enjoy the game, and art for art's sake, and art for friends. Others want players' money to buy the game or game items so they can make a living. Both of those motivations are noble. Again, neither of those is what he's talking about.
Some of us
A
want to
dude who
charge
wants.
you to use ammo in a game.
I was just gonna say there is a world of difference between making art for art's sake and letting your friends play it for free, putting up an itch and letting people download it for nothing, making a game and charging for it like Tunic, where the dude's making money because he's got to put food on the table, keep the lights open, and make more games down the road. That's fine too. No one's having a problem with that.
Hmm.
Neither of those, what he just said, are what he's talking about in that 2011 clip.
Right.
He's talking about charging you per reload, charging you per action spent, per energy utilized in a game, per thing that you would normally do in a game in the middle of an important moment. That's predatory. That's abusive. That is not trying to make your money so you can put food on the table and keep your doors open, make a living, quote unquote, as he says.
Right.
That's coming from a dude who said in that clip that he spent $5,000 on microtransactions because he could. Like, I'm sure to him, for him spending $5,000 on microtransactions is like me spending $5 on microtransactions. It probably doesn't feel like anything for that guy.
Sure.
That does not mean that the way they do it and the capacity they do it is good. He says, fourth, what I was trying to say and clearly failed at saying is that there are better ways for game developers to get an early read on what players think of their game, to learn from their feedback. And if the developer wants to adjust the game based on this feedback, it's a choice to listen and act or just listen. Again, both are really valid choices. But again, if you notice in that fourth point, he's leaving out the context of he specifically mentioned the monetization aspect. Back in the thing you had, his actual like phrasing of what he said, he had mentioned the actual monetization and how players who weren't doing it were dumb.
Hmm.
How if they were using the old methods of monetization and the old models
Right.
instead of new models. Here, he makes sure to leave out any mention of monetization and just says player feedback and how people enjoy their game and yada yada. Um, If I had been smarter in choosing my words, I would have just said this. We are working to provide developers with tools so they can better understand what their players think, and it is up to them to act or not based on this feedback. However, the entire discussion originally started because they were talking about the acquiring of Iron Source, not a company who does metrics and tools for like seeing how many people like your game, explicitly a company who makes adware and what is now considered by like Windows protection by default malware programs
Right.
that are an attempt to monetize. This is not something where like you don't put Iron Source in your games to be like, oh, I want to see the metrics, I want feedback. It's not a
Right.
survey program. It's not like a player retention program. It doesn't track their hours played and shit to see how well they're doing and how much they like it and what they
I
engage
am
with.
sure it tracks like player behavior and all kinds of shit, though. I'm sure it tracks
Yeah,
metrics.
but that's not its intent.
Not for
Its intent
not
is to
right,
monetize that.
right, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just liked how they said too, like, oh, Iron Source malware came from bad actors who abused the platform. But the CEO, like, I mean, it was. Where do you think these ideas come from? Where do you think these directives come from?
Yeah, absolutely. It's wild.
Like, I don't get it. It's like, they seem to know an awful lot about it, which is really interesting.
Absolutely. No, I guess I don't know. I don't know what else there is really to say here. I mean, bad series of bad moves on Uni's part, and all I've seen on Twitter. I mean, obviously it's anecdotal, but like all I see on Twitter is people leaving the Unity platform now. Oh, I wanted to get back to that concept I was going to talk about, and I said it would take too long to talk about in the middle, so I'm going to take it to the end. So I'll put that here.
Go for it.
Have you ever heard of a concept called dog fooding?
No.
So I don't think it's game design specific, but it does show up in game design a lot. It shows up in software design a lot, is actually what it is.
I'm gonna take a guess, but it's like something that it smells really good, but you know you shouldn't eat it. It smells really good, but you know you shouldn't eat it.
Nope. It's a good guess.
But it smells. Why does it smell so good? I'm not gonna eat it though.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't judge you, man. I don't know. Do you have like a USB flash drive of your favorite dog food? And you're like, I have to figure out how they make this.
I left my flash drive full of Alpo pictures at McDonald's.
I left my flash drive full of kibbles and bits. Oh my god!
You gonna eat those sausages?
No, so in IT, you have a thing called dog fooding. Dog fooding is an IT slang for the use of one's own products. So what it refers to is making a product and then using that product yourself as a sort of confirmation that your product works. So the idea behind it is it comes from the idea of if your dog food was good food for your dog, would you eat it?
Mm-hmm.
If your answer is no, you won't eat dog food because it's gross, there may in fact be something wrong with your dog food if you yourself won't eat it. It's what's a good word for that? Like you're proving that it's actually
wouldn't feed it to your dog.
Yeah. Okay. If you wouldn't eat it yourself, you wouldn't feed it to your dog. So like it's a quality check, right? So like dog fooding a thing is proving that it's a quality thing by being like I use it. Imagine if a guy told you like, oh, you know, like imagine if me right now was like, hey Retro, let me tell you about this hair product like I use to prevent hair loss. It's totally great. I use it myself, and you're looking at me on the camera like, bro, I can see that it's not working for you. So imagine me trying to sell that to you, right?
Oh my
not
god,
a good idea. Oh, I'm being fair.
I guess I feel bad. No, I feel bad.
No, yeah. No, it doesn't bother me. It's just funny to like, but it's a valid thing, right? Like
Sure.
if you saw a dude who was clearly like widow's peaking and he was like, let me tell you about my hair loss product, you wouldn't buy that from that guy.
Right.
Like, why aren't you using it? You know what I mean? I know there's got to be like an old allegory or a tale for how this works, like for something like an Aesop's fable or something. I feel like this is one of those like stories you'd have.
Mm-hmm.
But the long story short, in IT, it's used all the time to refer to like using a product. So like if you work for the Photoshop company like Adobe, and when it comes to, and you know, say you work for Adobe, and you like, you know, you get interviewed by a company, and they're like, so what do you use when you make the advertisements for Adobe? Like, do you use Illustrator? Do you use Photoshop? And they're like, no, I use like CS Paint, or like I use like MS Paints or Paint.net or like IBIS or or Clip Studio or something.
Mhm.
Like if you were a professional artist who works at Adobe and you have access to Photoshop and Illustrator and you're still using Clip Studio, that's bad dog fooding, right? Because you're not even using the product you work on.
Sure.
So obviously you don't think the product's good.
It's like finding those tapes under my dad's bed when I was a kid, and like the delivery guy who would bring the pizza said it was sausage pizza, but every time he opens the box, it's sausage pizza, but I would not eat that pizza. Is it like that?
Yes. Sure. So yeah, the dude kept bringing the pizza, and there's always a hole in the box, and I'm like, why is there a hole in the box? Like, this is bad service. Why is there a flash drive in this box of Domino's pizza? What's on this flash drive? No, so what's funny about this whole thing with the layoffs, and that was actually one of the bigger red flags, and why a lot of people had problems with what they did with that company, with that layoff, before all this other shit happened, was, so say you have like Unreal Engine, right?
Mhm.
And the Unreal Engine made the Unreal games, like Unreal Tournament. They like the current Unreal iteration is on Fortnite. Fortnite uses the Unreal Engine in house to make Fortnite. So Fortnite is a great example of dog fooding. It shows that you can make a quality game with that engine and have that engine like not only can they make a good engine, but they can use their engine to make a good game, which is the intent of the engine.
Sure.
So it's showing that it's worth, if you never have to stop and be like, can I really make a game with Unreal that'll be good and I can sell, because they do it themselves. They've made a game that makes money that they made themselves in house. So the thing was, Unity was going to do this with Gogia or Gogaya, whatever they were calling it.
Mhm.
And that's the problem, was they started to dog food their product, and halfway through their own dog fooding attempt, they threw up.
Failed. Like,
Yeah. Well, like, it's literally like, if your dog food is safe for my dog, then you eat it. And they were like, sure. And they picked it up and they ate like a couple bites of it, and they were like, and like
it
threw
was
it all
so
out.
bad that they fired people over it. It was like,
Yeah.
what is that? Like, if you're a developer and you're in the middle of using their own tools, like, what does that say?
Right.
Like,
That
should
was
I
what
be
was the
using
killer.
Unreal because Unity's so bad that am I actually losing development time because of how bad this software is?
And that's what people were saying. And not just losing time, but like, can you actually even put out your finished product?
Right.
If the people at Unity couldn't make a game with their own engine,
That's frightening.
what are you gonna do? Like, I mean, I guess if we're talking a AAA studio, sure, you guys have probably infinite money to throw at that problem, or a whole staff of team. But like, if if me and you and Dark decided to three-man a studio right now and work on our first game, and we were about to use Unity for it, and we saw this happen, we're not touching Unity to make a game after this. There's no fucking way.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even make a game like with their own engine. What are we gonna do?
Right.
So this in particular, the layoff and the decision to scrap specifically the Gigaya team or whatever it's called, was like a major red flag. It didn't make waves on social media the way
massive.
that the other guy did, because that one was literally just a very simple clip of like a dude calling people fucking idiots. It's easy to throw that around and get the context. If you want to explain to people why firing the Gigaya team at Unity was bad, you have to have this whole discussion, and you have to be able to like articulate these points to another person in a way that they understand and everything, like I did. It's not an easy thing. You can't just clip on Twitter and be like, this is why this was bad, and then have it go viral. It doesn't do the same thing.
Sure.
But for like in the IT industry and in game dev circles, this was the red flag we all saw 3-4 months ago or whatever it was. This was only a week ago, right? The layoff.
Like
I think it was only
200
a week
employees.
ago.
Yeah, it was middle of June, June 22nd.
Yeah. This was like our holy shit moment for a lot of game developers.
Sure.
When this was what made a lot of people already start leaving Unity. And that's why if you go look up Unity stock, it actually dipped before the guy called people idiots.
Right.
And it was because of
it was
this.
On its way down.
And then Iron Source happened. And the people who were already worried but hadn't left started to leave.
Sure.
Because at that point they were like, holy shit, not only are you guys not even willing to eat your own dog food, you're going to put advertisements on the package for shit that also was bad. Okay. So now we're out of here.
Yeah.
And then, with everybody leaving and all this shit happening, the CEO gets on stage and is like, don't you people have other things besides dog food to eat? And everyone was like, "Oh, so this is what we're doing? Like, we're fucking idiots for not eating your dog food that you guys won't even eat."
Right.
Like, no way, that doesn't fly. So that's when it got to the point where even people like Osama was leaving. Which, for those of you listening at home, Osama Darius is a game developer who I started following last year at around Game Developer Conference time, GDC. And he's an awesome dude. I've only ever seen people talk good about him in the environment and the community.
Seems like a
Every time
super
someone brings
nice,
his
like
name
super
up,
positive dude.
super nice dude, super
Mhm.
cool guy. Look forward to meeting him someday, hopefully. But he's high up in the Unity chain, and he's announced. Originally said he was looking for work. He was like, it's time for me to leave the Unity team," but he hasn't left yet. As far as I can tell, he made another tweet to clarify that he's still there, and that he is looking, but he's not gone yet. He just needs to. He wants to go back into. He wasn't fired, and he didn't quit or anything. He just wants to go back into actual game design because his passion is in game design,
Sure.
and he's been doing not game design.
Yeah, he's like
in his position at Unity.
Public, public partner director or something.
Like partner relations manager or something
That's
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
So he's been not doing game design, and he wants to go back into that. However, obviously I haven't asked him because I'm a nobody to this guy. But I'd have to imagine that this whole thing, in some capacity, would motivate you to find a new job.
Sure.
Even if I wasn't the person who's like responsible for making the dog food at that dog food factory, if we couldn't eat our own dog food, and I was like just a dude who drew for the logo for it, I'd still also be like, maybe it's time to move on. Just for my own personal sake, I think that Unity might not be a smart investment to like get hired at or start working at or start using right now.
Sure.
So I totally understand his desire to look outward for a new position. And I also understand still continuing to work for that company means he could not publicly be like, fuck this company or like this company needs to go or anything like that.
Right.
So but dude, even the way he handled the guy saying it, I think like the same day that thing came out where he said like they're fucking idiots was like, I think he said something like, he tweeted something like, "I don't think any of us are fucking idiots," with like hearts and hug faces and shit. And I was like, man, that guy could have torn into him, and even he was like,
Yeah.
"We'll be nice about this too." So he's a cool dude.
I just love like his
but-
criteria is like no crypto, no NFTs, no metaverse. I'm like, my
Yep.
boy.
Yeah, I saw him talking about he when he was applying, he was doing a bunch of applications for jobs, and like people that come to him looking for him to come join their team, they're always crypto people, and they want to get him in quickly, and they're like, yeah, whatever, we just need you to like work on our project real quick. And he's like, "What is your project?" And they're like, "Well, it's crypto game." And they're like, and he's like, "No, I don't want anything to do with that." Because it's always the same shit. It's always people trying to get you in the door quickly so you can get some sort of project off the ground quickly so that you can try and capitalize on the totally growing and exploding, booming even crypto market.
Pyramid
But yeah,
scheme.
it's every time I see a dev talking about how they got approached by an NFT or a crypto group, it's always some dude who's like, it's a separate problem in the game industry that you see all the time called the ideas guy, which is like a person who has no knowledge of the industry in any capacity. They don't know about good writing, they don't know about good art, they don't know about good music, they don't know about good narrative direction, they don't know about good gameplay mechanics, they don't know anything about anything. Programming, none of it. But they have an idea. They have a really cool idea for a game, and they don't know how to make their game, and they don't know how to do anything else about their game. So they'll go to other people and be like, "I'm the ideas guy, and you guys make the game, and you guys do the art, and you guys do the sound, you guys do the animations, you guys do the gameplay, you guys do the mechanics, you guys make sure it's fun, QA tests my game, and we put out this game, and then we all make good money because I had the idea." And it's like, it's the Elon Musk shit, right? Like the guy who's in charge of the company who doesn't actually contribute anything other than like he was in the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? So you see that problem a lot with the crypto and NFT people, where they walk up to you and like, "I had a great idea. What if you make this crazy game that uses crypto to blah 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 blah?" And they're like, "Why would people play this?" "I don't fucking know. That's your problem. You guys would figure out why they would play it. I have the idea for what the game would be."
Right.
"Okay, well, what would be fun about this game?" "I have no idea. The mechanics can be whatever. Make it a match 3 game. I don't give a fuck. But it's my idea that we do this thing."
Right.
You know what I mean? It's one of those like, you don't want
He's
players
fun,
to have
man.
fun. You don't want players to have a cool story. You just have an idea that's the only time you see people who lead with making money as the desire, is they think they have an idea that'll make money, and that's it. So, and every developer I see on Twitter is like, "I don't want shit to do with them." And I don't blame them.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either. I'd be interested to see where Unity goes from here. It just looks like they're going to be super parasitic to, unfortunately, companies that can't afford to be this parasitic. So,
Well, that's the problem. Is like a few years ago, Unity was like was arguably one of, if not the engine for
oh
people
yeah,
who were like smaller engines, like
hmm
couldn't afford to like pay big licensing fees for things like Unreal, who at the time was more expensive, or like didn't want to go crazy with like building their own engine in house. So that was like, and Unity had good games under their belt. Like they made stuff like Assassin's Creed and some other stuff. So like there was games that were made with Unity all the time, and it was fine. You know what I mean?
right.
It just feels like Unity in my headspace is in the same category as Adobe and like Autodesk, where like they're just trying to fuck their customers over at this point, or at least it feels like Unity is positioning themselves to be in a similar position to like Adobe, where they're just screwing the people over for the money they make because a
Or
lot of people are just stuck with
possibly
them.
worse.
Yeah. So I've written them off as, I've always looked at Unity as like maybe I should learn Unity because I apply for jobs all the time and a lot of jobs are looking for Unity devs and I'm like, oh, it's C Sharp, C++. I can learn that. I
hmm
already know C++, C Sharp. I messed around with C Sharp in college and it wasn't like that bad. It's like a visual scripting sort of thing.
Right.
Not I can't say visual scripting. It's not like blueprints, but it's like it's very color coordinated, delineated, keyworded in a way that makes it feel easier to use than like traditional C++, I guess.
That's cool.
But it was one of those like, yeah, maybe I'll look at it sometime. And then that was like, and then right as I graduated, Unity did like the price changes and the license changes, and I was like, oh fuck that.
hmm
And then it's been all downhill from them for the last year since then.
Yeah, it's like you have either what Unity or Epic, and Epic being tied to Epic, it's like
Yeah, a lot of people don't like using like Unreal is doing everything right,
Unreal.
but a
Yeah,
lot of people still don't like Unreal being backed by like Tencent and stuff,
right. Exactly.
which
So
is a
it's
valid concern as well.
yeah. So
Now, to be
it's
fair, most devs and work I see come out of Unreal isn't really affected by that, but it's the kind of thing where they wouldn't be affected until one day some shit happens where like a bunch of stuff gets stolen or info gets leaked, or
hmm
then it would be a problem. Like it wouldn't be a problem until then, and obviously you can't foresee that. So
right.
if you have, for people who have a problem with Tencent and they don't want to use Unreal because of that, that's valid. You don't have to use that. That's fine.
Sure.
Um, and it sucks because Unity was, like I said at the top of this piece, Unity was good for small games because it downscales a lot better because it's closer to like raw C++.
hmm
It's not bloated. Unreal is great for 3D games, but if you want to make a 2D game, you either have to like do it all in a 3D bloated scene, or you
hmm
have to like do it in like the 2D sketchbook thing, which is fairly new in Unreal and not very documented,
Hmm.
or you have to like make it all in basically menus, like UI menu style
Oh
things,
wow.
which is weird for frame rates as well.
Sure.
So it's definitely weird to make small mobile games with Unreal unless they're like supposed to be like cheap 3D games or something. Um, so it's a shame to watch Unity kind of circle the drain like this because the Unity as
Right.
an engine is great. The people who work on the Unity engine busting their ass the last couple of years to put updates in that engine and make that engine into a competition for Unreal, and it sucks to watch that melt like
Sure.
that. But I
Absolutely.
mean, fortunately, you still have Unreal, you still have Godot, you still have Game Maker, you still have SDF2, which I don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically very much like a raw C++ kind of coding thing. It works with OpenGL to make like the graphics.
hmm
So if you want to write a game from scratch, that's SDF2 is a way to go. Um, and I mean, you could crack open Visual Studio and do a C Sharp project and do it
Sure.
that way. I mean, there's all kinds of options. But yeah, it's sad to watch one of the big ones like go so bad so quickly.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on. We got two more topics to go over, our usuals. So we
Yeah.
have upcoming game releases. Let's talk about what we have coming out this week. We have As Dusk Falls coming out on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC. July 19th. I think we're still in June.
Yeah.
Endling Extinction is Forever coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Fallen Angel coming to the Switch and PC. Into the Breach coming to iOS and Android. Stray, of course, coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC. Bright Memory Infinite coming to the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Switch. Koromon coming to the Switch July 21st, and Live Alive coming July 22nd. That's a game I have pre-ordered, so that we'll see that coming here, and maybe I'll stream that. Maybe I'll do like a first impressions of that or something.
There you go. And I like to point out for people at home, Live Alive has like 3 demos on the Switch.
It does. It does. I keep forgetting to fucking download them. So,
dude, same. I say every time we talk about that game, I'm like, yeah, Live Alive has like 3 demos on the Switch, and my Switch is like over here, not downloading Live Alive.
Nice. Yeah, we'll get there someday, right? Yeah, mine's out in like my hallway, my work bag, and I never fucking get it out at work. I don't even know why I take it to work anymore. Yeah. Then we have, let's go into this week in gaming history. Splatoon 2 came out 5 years ago on the Switch. That was a great game for its time because there wasn't much on the Switch at that period of the Switch's life. I think there was like Zelda, Tetris versus Puyo Puyo, and a couple other 1-2 Switch, and it wasn't much, and that was like, So it was a great time for that game to come out. It was so good. My daughter still plays it like it's a religion, so she's having a lot of fun with that. I'm sure she's going to be excited for Splatoon 3 to come out. What else we got here? Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door. The only Paper Mario I haven't played, but I'm pretty sure it's like heralded as like the best Paper Mario.
I was just gonna say, it was not like where like it peaked for Paper Mario.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the one on the Wii. I really like the art style on that one. That one, did I say came out 18 years ago? That was on the GameCube. The Pokemon Channel came out on the GameCube 19 years ago. Quake, as we were talking about Quake, came out on PC 26 years ago. That was back when the only competition it really had was Doom, and this was the first game to have 3D models of like monsters in the game as you played it. So that was a big leap in technology there. Max Payne then came out 21 years ago on the PC. Road Rash 2 came out on the Sega Genesis 29 years ago. And then we had the Mario Brothers arcade premiere as an arcade box 39 years ago. That was not Super Mario Brothers. It was the, dare I say, arena-style game where you're in there jumping under pipes, chasing crabs and shit.
It was like, for those of you who are watching who never played this, if you played Mario Brothers 3 on the Nintendo, and you challenge the other player for their turn by like moving to their square and pushing the button, sometimes you'd get like that layout. It'd be like 2 tunnels with platforms, and then a middle platform, and then 2 more platforms, and then 2 more tunnels. And enemies would come out of those tunnels. In that, it was a race to see who could get 5 coins first. But it, like in the Mario Brothers arcade, it was like never ending or something.
Sure.
It was just that. That's all it was. That was the whole game basically. Yeah, man, what a throwback.
Yeah, good times. All right, so once again, social media and Discord. We have Game Dude Retro, Twitter and Instagram, Retro Game Dude on Twitch and TikTok. Our schedule this week, of course, we'll be doing the SuperScope podcast on Sunday. Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm pretty sure we're maybe going to do Final Fantasy 14. Maybe we can all get on and do some like leveling and just have a good time in the voice chat. And then, of course, Saturday, Jackbox. We'll be back again for that. So anyone who's interested, come on out and play. The games are always open. Always more than welcome to join in the voice chat. As long as it's, Twitch TOS, we're more than happy to have you. All right. Well, that is this show for this week, and we will be back again next week with the SuperScope podcast once again to talk about game news, releases, and rumors, and everything in between. Thanks again, guys. Take care.